The Board of Trustees of Crystal City Independent School District will meet in regular session at 6 p.m. Monday, July 13th, 2026, in the Administration Building, Boardroom 613B, west of Wallace Street, Crystal City, Texas 78839. Call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vince Martinez.
Here.
Mr. Sammy Houston, absent. Mr. Cruz Mata.
Here.
Mr. Victor Bonilla III, absent. Mr. Gabriel Espinosa.
Here.
Mr. Ray Espinosa.
I'm here.
And Mrs. Peggy Young.
Here.
We do have a quorum. A moment of reflection. Item 4, public comment, sir?
No, sir.
I'll move on to item 5A, or 5, consent action items. Consideration to approve the minutes for the board meetings held on June 1st, 2026, June 18th, 2026, June 29th, 2026.
I would like to ask if we can do them separately, because I was wrapped on the 18th, but we can do. Yeah.
Do you want to take item, you want to do June 1st and June 29th together and June 18th separate?
Yeah, that'll work.
Do you want to make a motion?
A motion to approve June 1st regular meeting and June 29th special meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
Second by Gabriel Espinosa. Discussion? No discussion? All in favor? All against? Mr. Espinosa, did you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to pass the June 1st and June 29th meetings. Now do we have a motion for the June 18th meetings? Motion made by Mr. Espinosa. Gabriel? Second?
Second.
Second. By Mr. Espinosa. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Mr. Espinosa.
I'm not here today.
All against? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. Item 5B, consideration to approve the T-test appraiser and evaluation calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. Do you have a presentation, sir?
Are we pulling it from consent?
No, nobody's made a motion to pass them all together.
Okay.
So
But they're under consent. I'm
on the
not
consent
gonna
item.
take them all.
Yes. Well, we're prepared if it need be to do presentations, but it's just the appraiser calendar and the appraisers themselves.
Is there anything that anybody has questions on items 5B through F?
There's a revised version on your
There's a new what? Oh, a revised version.
Otherwise, what?
revised version.
Yeah. Or major changes or
The only change. Good evening. The only change that is up there on the T-test appraiser calendar, and it's not necessarily the calendar, but it's on page 1, 2, 3. It's on page 3 of the actual calendar, and it's highlighted in red. And it's just notifying for TIA purposes. It is just for documentation purposes that we will have 4 documented walkthroughs and 1 formal observation. And all formal observations must be completed before December 18, 2026.
And do all these observations, do they meet the minimum requirements for our TIA? What are the minimum walkthroughs?
The 4 and the 1.
4 and the
4 and the 1.
Question on the walkthroughs and observations, do they select the teachers or how,
The administrators select,
select, okay.
yes.
Are the teachers notified ahead of time?
They're notified usually during their standard operating procedures meeting, usually is the first or second day of back to work. The principals go over all of their operating procedures for the year, and that is one of the things that is usually presented.
Now, in every teacher that is up for TIA or can qualify for TIA, they will be getting their observations, because I've heard different things from different teachers that they have not gotten their minimum amount of observations in the year, so that's why they get disqualified from TIA or things like that. I just want to make sure that all of the teachers are, that the district is doing the minimum that we can be able to give them the opportunity.
The areas that are identified or submitted in the TIA application, which I believe were the test areas, those are the teachers that are going to get the walkthroughs.
But all the other teachers are also going to get.
Yes.
Okay.
Throughout the year, they receive walkthroughs and observations.
Okay.
I have another question. On the observations, is there any training on how to conduct a proper observation on the teachers? And then the other issue that I have is that, okay, we live in a small community, correct? And sometimes when we have certain personnel or administrators doing observations, are they skewing the system per se? Because they don't want to put that, because there might be some kind of relationship which makes it a little bit harder to provide a proper observation if they're making certain mistakes, or, you know what I'm getting at? You know what I mean?
It shouldn't be the case. We administrators undergo a 3-day training with Region 20. And Region 20 has an excellent person that trains us. During those 3 days, where we go over the actual test, we'll break piece by piece. We watch different scenarios. We practice observing, and then we practice a feedback session. At the end, we have to take an assessment, and we have to pass the assessment. Every year after that, we have to take another assessment, and it's usually a 45-minute observation through the T-Test website, and then we take the assessment. And then after 3 years, you take the same thing, you take the assessment, but you get certified for 3 years.
And then has anybody conversed with the teachers, letting them know, hey, if we're doing an observation, we want to do a true and proper observation, don't take it personal. We're trying to make you better. I mean, has any conversations?
That conversation happens during the T-Test refresher training at the beginning of the school year, where administrators and teachers have that conversation. The T-Test system is supposed to be there for teacher support, and it's to grow the teachers. So.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question. What's next on,
What's that?
what's next on
Oh, the next is
the thing?
it's that student handbook, student code of conduct, student dress code, employee handbook. I didn't see much to change anything in
There
there.
was only an item that I omitted because it's not in our policy, and the TASB guidebook stated that if it's not in your policy, omit it. So that's what I did. Oh, and the clear backpacks, mesh backpacks.
And the cell phone policy made it in there as well, right?
So cell phone policy has been in there since last year.
Omitted, why? I didn't understand.
There was a section, and it had to do with administering medications. And the TASB guidebook stated that if it's not in your policy, and it listed the actual policy, I just don't recall which one it was, but if it's not in your policy, to omit it. So it's not in ours, so I went ahead and I took it out.
Thank you, Sarah.
So Martina, since we're gonna be approving this on the student handbook, on the calendar that we have there, it's our own calendar. I know somewhere over here, we have the right calendar, But right here, I mean, it's the one that was corrected. I think we just need to,
It's just a matter of inserting the newest one.
but we're gonna approve it. I mean,
Yes.
make sure that you all know when we approve.
Yes.
So that was my recommendation.
Okay.
Go ahead and put it, because I mean, if it's gonna be sent to the parents, they're gonna be,
No, before it's posted, I'll make sure that the correct calendar is in there and that we have the latest hirees, because as you notice on page 7 of the handbook, we have some people missing. So as we're also hiring, I'll be filling in the blanks as well.
So I have a motion to pass B through F. What's that?
Do a blanket or?
Yeah.
Motion to do a blanket motion on the T-test appraisals and evaluation, approve student handbook, approve the 2026-2027 student code of conduct, approve the 2026-27 student dress code, and approve the 2026-2027 employee handbook.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Gabriel or Mr. Espinosa. Discussion? Discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now, we do have some items that we want to adjust and we want to move 6H, 7F, and 7G up on the agenda. Their presentations, and we have some people in the audience to make those presentations. And given that it is a long agenda, go ahead and move them up. So I move to move items 6H, 7F, and 7G.
What picture?
No, I'm making a motion to move
Well, no.
a couple of items up on the agenda, since they're here to make some presentations and they have to travel. Item 6H, 7F, and 7G.
A motion.
Make a motion to move, okay. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gabriel Espinosa. Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries to move items 6H, 7F, and 7G up on the agenda. We can move forward with 6H.
Okay, so we have Josh Haney with Moat Casey on a Zoom with the board. He's going to be discussing with us the efficiency audit and moving forward with our Vader election.
Did they provide a presentation? No? Okay.
Are y'all able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, and I should be sharing my slides. Are y'all able to view those as well?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. So I think you heard from my colleague, Leo Lopez, last time regarding the voter approval tax rate and the efficiency audit. I'll talk a little bit about that. I also have a revenue projection to share with y'all and kind of walk you through some of the impacts of conducting a voter approval tax rate. And so again, feel free to stop with any questions, but I'll go ahead and launch into our presentation. And so again, under state law, you guys each year adopt an M&O tax rate. The school finance system looks at different portions of that tax rate differently. It breaks up your M&O tax rate, your maintenance and operation tax rate, into 2 tiers. We have tier 1 and then tier 2. Within tier 2 are 2 levels. You can see the first level is level 1, also referred to as golden pennies. Level 2 is copper pennies. That's next 9. And I'll talk about sort of the differences between those two there. And again, just kind of want to set some context before I jump into the revenue projection. The tier 1 portion of the rate is subject to ongoing compression due to House Bill 3. Back in 2019, your portion of your tier 1 rate was $1. It's since come down to around 60 cents. So a lot of progress there, a lot of rate reduction that's benefiting your taxpayers. And in short, the state is making up the difference there. Your specific compression depends on state and local property value growth. And we learn each summer, usually late July or here in a couple of weeks, we'll learn how much your tax rate is going to get compressed further, if at all. And so that's tier one. Tier two, as you can see, maximum of 17 cents under state law. Again, the first 8 pennies are level 1. Those are referred to as golden pennies. You can adopt the first 5 of those with just a simple majority of the board. If you want to go beyond that, that usually requires voter approval. And I think that's what we'll be discussing later, is that the revenue impact that those additional pennies could have. And so we'll go through a couple of scenarios here in a moment. And then the next 9 pennies above that are called copper pennies. The sort of terms there refer to a couple different things. The state match is higher on the golden pennies. And so it's about, golden pennies are almost 3 times as valuable as copper pennies. And in addition, there's no recapture on golden pennies. There is recapture on copper pennies. And again, we'll talk about that more here in a little bit, but just know that you can add 3 more pennies, right? You have 5, you could add 3 additional golden pennies, and everything above that would be copper pennies. For, again, a total of 17 cents in tier 2. So like I mentioned, you guys have currently have 5 tier 2 pennies. You can see that in 24-25, your tax rate was 66.69. Again, that includes 5 pennies above your tier 1 rate, 61.69. Given the property values that we've gotten on the April prelim report from your county appraisal district, we are seeing a value decline. And so whenever there's value declines year over year, that means that there won't be any compression, generally speaking. So we do anticipate next year a tier 1 rate, again, of 61.69. To access new tier 2 pennies above the 5th penny. So again, you've maxed out what you can do as a board to increase the rate above that. You basically have 2 options: permanently adopt those additional pennies, again, up to 12 additional pennies through an election. There is a provision under tax code where you can adopt those additional pennies temporarily. And we refer to those as disaster pennies. I don't believe the district is eligible for that this year. But that is an option if there is a qualifying disaster that has occurred in your county. Here's some of the timelines for the voter approval tax rate election and the efficiency audit. Usually we recommend that the board select the auditor for the audit before the 4th of July. That's 4 months before the election. There are provisions in statute that can allow you to somewhat soften that deadline. But that is that's sort of the just by the book, the timeline that's laid out in law. The next timeline on there, August 17th, is one that is a hard deadline that districts must meet in order to proceed with the tax rate election. Districts do have to adopt their rate and order the election by August 17th. That's 78 days before the November election. And so I know on Friday we met with your with Superintendent Grill and his staff, among others, and we'll kind of walk through some of these timelines. But that is one that is where the rubber really meets the road on conducting a voter approval tax rate election. So again, order the election and adopt the tax rate by August 17th. We do encourage, as you can see in that highlighted section, we do encourage y'all to reach out as soon as possible to your tax office, to your county elections office to start the process there, and make sure they're aware that you're doing a TRE, what those local needs are for them to execute and able to support you in this process. Each county varies, that process varies from county to county. So just would encourage y'all to make sure your tax office knows that, your rate is gonna may change as a result of the election in November. And make sure that your elections office obviously is able to support y'all in conducting the election. If you weren't doing a TRE, you would have until the end of September to adopt your tax rate, right? So you can see how that TRE brings that tax rate adoption deadline up from the end of September up until August 17th. So it does speed things up a little bit. We talked about the efficiency audit already. That efficiency audit does need to be completed and posted to the website no later than October 3rd. And then at some point, you need to have a meeting to discuss the results of the efficiency audit. And those two things don't need to be at the same time. We recommend, though, that meeting, that public meeting occur around the same time when you post it, right? So that would be late September, early October. And then you have the election on November 3rd. Now that we passed House Bill 3 in 2019, we can't do Vaders in May any longer. You can still do bond elections in May, but all Vaders have to be on, all M&O sort of voter approval tax rate elections have to be on the November date. We've begun the efficiency audit work and sort of pulling data for your district and starting to prepare a list of peers. We're going to be continuing that work this week with your staff and sort of finalizing that set of peers. The efficiency audit itself covers a number of different topics. It looks at your accountability rating, your financial rating, first rating, student demographics, revenues, expenditures, staffing ratios. It covers a lot of ground. Most of the data is data that the district's already reporting through PEMS to the state. So it's not a whole lot of extra work for your staff. There are some items, though, that that your efficiency auditor will need assistance with, providing some narratives. I know you guys just talked about TIA. There's some questions on the audit about your compensation system, for example. And so we'll need some additional evidence, some additional narratives from your staff around what your systems are in that regard, if you're making changes to those systems. And so that's really at a high level what the efficiency audit covers. That's what it is. We do follow the state guidelines for that efficiency audit. So just to be clear, these are not things that Moat Casey is sort of making the district do, right? These are things that the state under law has said all districts doing a voter approval tax rate need to look at as part of their review leading up to the election. And also the efficiency audit does not include an opinion, right? We do not say, yes, this district needs an election, or no, they do not, right? That's not part of the audit. We do follow the guidelines in as far as it allows the district to describe what it will do with the extra funding coming from the election, and also talk about the consequences if the election is not successful, right? So we are allowed to address some of those things in the report itself, but the report does not go as far as giving an opinion about the state of the district or whether or not a voter approval tax rate election is warranted. So just wanted to make that piece clear. Last slide here is the revenue projection. And so you can see some different scenarios here. And this is just Superintendent Grill. This is basically similar information we presented to y'all last week. But I just kind of want to call out a couple different things here. You can see obviously the M&O tax rate is changing as a result of those of the different tax rate scenarios, right? So you guys are currently at 5 cents. And all these numbers are projections for 26-27 school year. Again, you could go up to 8, right? Or you could go all the way up to 17. depending, as where you guys wanted to go as a board. Obviously, increasing the tax rate is going to increase M&O collections. You can see that on the third row. Increasing your tax rate also allows you to draw down more state aid, right? And so you can see that M&O state aid increasing on that next row. You will see that the M&O state aid increases from the 5 cent to the 8 cent scenario, again, because you're maximizing those golden pennies. And there's a higher state match for those golden pennies, right? So you're generating more state aid. However, in those copper pennies, your property values are high enough where you're basically fully funding those copper pennies locally, and your property wealth is high enough where the state basically there's no state aid that gets kicked in on those scenarios. So you can see basically your state aid is flat for those copper pennies. That being said, of course, those copper pennies being added do increase your total M&O revenues, right? Largely through the additional local tax collections. So you can see at 5 cents, your revenues would be about 17.2, about $1 million gain, and with the 3 additional golden pennies, and then about another $1 million to bring you up to 19.1 if you go all the way up for the copper pennies. And you can also see the revenue per ADA change there along the bottom as well. One last thing I want to call out on this slide, and then I'll end my comments. You do see again, your values are high enough where whenever you start going above that 8th golden penny, you start generating a little bit of recapture. And again, these are projections based on your April 30 values. We'll see if that actually materializes once we get your July certified values from the CAD. But right now, based on the information we have, we do think those copper pennies would generate a little bit of recapture. Those copper pennies, again, are still bringing a net positive to the district. It's still additional revenue, but you do have to share some of that additional tax collections with the state. And so that's what's represented there by that recapture row, is that there would be just around 100,000 in recapture. Okay, I'll go ahead and end my comments there. And if there's any questions about the voter approval tax rate election, the process leading up to that, the efficiency audit, I'd be happy to take that now.
Any questions, sir? Peggy, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I guess, sir, my only question is, once we take action, or if it does pass, this passes for the lifetime?
Correct. Yeah. With these additional pennies, again, this up to 12 additional pennies you could add. These would be permanent, and permanent as long as you adopt them each year, right? So if you do, for example, go down, like let's say you go all the way up to 17, and then sometime in the future you decide to go down to 15, then you'd only be able to retain 15 going forward, right? So it is kind of a use it or lose it thing. Most districts, when they do a TRE, I would say, generally speaking, they go all the way up to 17 cents, and they would continue that into the future permanently. And so that, I'd say that's the short answer is yes, those are permanent, but you can come down, of course, but that would have a revenue, that would have a cost that would impact negatively the district's revenues.
Okay. I mean, and this isn't necessarily a straight, like if you decide to move with the 17 cents, it's not necessarily a 17 cents tax increase, is it? I mean, we can kind of see what our INS is, right, and lower that one.
Correct. I'll let, I know Mr. Tiarina is there in the audience. I'll let him speak to your needs on the INS side later on. I would say, yes, that is a possibility. Depending on how much slack is in your INS rate. If you've been doing, if you have a lot of defeasance or something like that, we can maybe turn the dial down on the defeasance side and increase your pennies on the MNO side. I did not look at your defeasance for this analysis, and I know Robert's going to be the expert on that. So I'll let him address that.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions for? No? Any clarifications or anything, sir? No?
No, Josh will be meeting with you tomorrow at 10:30.
Yes, sir. All right. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Y'all take care.
And Mr. Carlos, the items that we were actually moving was 16, 7E, and 7F. It was written wrong.
E and F.
E and F. 7E and 7F, just for the record. Those are the ones we're moving on. So now we're moving on to 7E, Mr.
Velasquez, Mr. Tiarena.
Yeah, I want to say a little bit about the INS. How we kept short in that.
E is the election council, right? So it's not done.
Good evening, Mr. Grill, board members and staff. For the record, Robert Tijerina with Tijerina Financial Consulting, the school district's financial advisor. I applaud the board for having Josh Haney and Mo Casey as part of the team to help you do the TRE election. We always recommend this firm, and we have nothing to gain other than we know they do a great job for the clients. So all the information that Josh provided is absolutely 100% correct. And I know there's another individual in the audience, Rose from McCall Parkers, very familiar with Rose, work with her on other clients, and she's also one of those unique, rare attorneys that does assist school districts with TREs and also with bond elections. As Josh stated earlier, the state kind of wants you, and I'm going to put it in a very plain, simple way, wants school districts now, over the years, to have more skin in the game. They want districts that, if you want us to contribute, meaning us, the state, additional revenue to the community, to the school district, we need you to consider a TRE election. And that is one way that, they will say, okay, your local pennies will generate revenue coming in. But as Josh stated, the match and the additional revenue that's really going to make a big difference is, if that election passes, what the state contributes in. So currently right now, last July, your property values were at about $1.5 billion. So based on the final certified values last year, one penny generates about $150,000. Based on the preliminary values that Josh and Mr. Velasquez shared with you from April, the values are about $1.2 billion, a slight drop. So one penny is going to get you about $120,000. We don't know until the end, towards the end of the month, what the valuation is going to actually be once it's certified. But let's go with the actual certified values of about $1.5 billion from last July. That revenue is going to generate one penny about $150,000. As Josh stated earlier, 5 cents roughly is going to be a little over $700,000. So if you take that 150, and multiply that times the 7 pennies, that increase, that's going to be about $1,050,000. That's going to be coming in from just the local share. The bulk of the share, the bulk of the revenue is going to be what the state's going to contribute. And again, I applaud them because this is what they do. They're the experts on that. They run the formulas. They could tell you what the local cents will generate, but also what the golden pennies and the copper pennies are going to contribute, and that's the bulk of your revenue. Now, there is, what was mentioned earlier, there is an opportunity where you have some revenue. There's a fund balance, there's a general fund balance, and then there's your interest in sinking fund balance, reserve fund. where the money in your INS reserve account, your fund balance reserve account, can only be used to pay for your debt on the INS side. So all the debt that the voters approved over the years, the money in there can help you contribute to make a debt payment. So if you're short, that money can be used to make whole the debt payment that's due every year. Money cannot be transferred over to the M&O side strictly for debt. So currently, after you make your August debt payment, there's going to be a balance of about $2 million left over. And if the values are going to drop down to about 1.2 billion, 1 penny is about 120,000. So if we take, what is that $2 million reserve fund balance equal to in the form of pennies, we're looking at roughly 16.6 cents, 16 cents, 16 and a half cents of that reserve fund. And again, that money can only be used towards debt payments. You have your great staff on board, Mr. Velasquez, you have Josh. We have a spreadsheet, and I believe Josh does also, where we can show a contribution of X amount of revenue that comes in for next year from this reserve account. So if you want to try to offset the overall total increase, you're saying, 1 penny is going to be about 120,000, 2 pennies 240, 3 pennies 360. You can say we can lower the INS tax rate and use that difference from your INS reserve account in order to make the debt payment whole. And it's there for that purpose only. How it's accumulated over the years is sometimes the collection's at 94%, you get 98. Extra revenue comes in over the years and it builds up in this reserve account. And again, that reserve account can only be used for your debt payments. So it's not what the state calls a swap. You're just lowering the INS and using money from that reserve account to make up the difference. And your total tax rate, if the TRE election passes, then that drop on the INS will be picked up with the increase on the TRE. So that's one way to look at it. We can run that analysis once Mr. Velasquez, once Josh determines this is how much money we can use from your INS reserve account. What we don't want to do is deplete that completely, because we all know things change down in South Texas and we may be short 1 year. So you do have an opportunity to use some money from that reserve account. Again, by the end of the fiscal year, should have about $2 million, which means you already made your August payments. So you do have some type of cushion in there, which I said about roughly 16 and a half cents. We don't recommend using that completely. But once your team, Josh, Mr. Velasquez, determines this is how much we're going to lower the INS, if it's something you want to do, and have that increase be part of that TRE on the M&O side, then we could tell you, okay, you're going to lower it X amount of pennies. This is how much that needs to come out of that INS reserve account and be part of a debt payment next fiscal year. And your debt payments are in February and in August. And again, this is strictly your interest and sinking fund tax rate side, your INS. Again, I applaud Mr. Grill, the board members, again, for contacting Mocha Casey. This is what they've done. I've been in the business over 26 years. We highly recommend them. We get nothing out of this other than we know they take great care of our clients, and they do a great job, and they're very detailed oriented. And, it's rare that, we get involved, but we're always happy to get involved if needed, provide a summary, provide some type of scenario for the CFO and for Josh whenever the time comes. Any questions from the board, Mr. Grill?
I guess your role in the team is you're already the district's financial advisor, correct? Yes. So your role on the team is just if they need assistance in the INS and where we can go back and forth with that?
Yes, sir. That's where our role comes in. Very seldom do we get a call, but when we do, it's always mainly from Moak and Casey's team to see, okay, or from your staff. This is what, can you run this scenario if we were to transfer money from the reserve fund to help make the debt payment? How many pennies is that going to equate to? So those are things that we can assist on. But again, it's part of the team. The main two components are going to be Moak and Casey, and the firm either preparing the order, preparing for the board to consider calling the election, and that same firm that is going to do the proposition on the day of November the 3rd. That is going to review that, prepare that, what the voters will be deciding. Also, you have your attorney, Moak and Casey. They review any type of language that comes out of the district that goes to the public as far as this is what the election's all about. They just make sure everything is factual. That's pretty much it. But any numbers, anything like that, they will contact us and we will be able to provide anything that they need.
Thank you. Does anybody have any additional questions? There's no action needed for this item, right? 7F. Okay.
Mr. Tiarena, I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
So much.
I appreciate it. Thank
you.
Thank you, sir.
you, sir.
All right, move on to item 7E, discussion action of election council.
We have Rose Pinkowski from Parkhurst.
Sorry, my shoes are clicking. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to be in the room with Robert Tiarena and with the Moak Casey team. They are the experts when it comes to school finance. A little bit about myself. I've been practicing law for over 30 years. I started off as a litigator and then became an elections attorney. So even though my law firm, McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, does public finance, I am not a finance lawyer. What I do for them is run their elections and disputes department. And so once any of our clients decides to have an election that's required by law for a public financing purpose, that's where my department comes in. So what do? We prepare documents to order the election, to provide notice of the election, and to canvass the results. We also provide what I call ethics support. Mr. Tiarena alluded to this. Once an election is ordered, your role as board changes. You can talk factually all the time, but you and the staff are limited in your advocacy role. When you're sitting as a board, your advocacy is limited. When you're out in public wearing your trustee hat, then you can advocate for an outcome that you want out of this election. Do you need a lawyer for VATRI? And by the way, I do say VATRI. It is a little bit different from others, and that's because my father was a science fiction buff. And when I think of Vader, I think of Darth Vader with the big helmet and the scary voice. And I'm an elections attorney. I love everything election related, and I don't want any darkness around any election I'm working on. So it's just a difference in terminology, but we're all talking about the same acronym. I think you could do it on your own, and I know school districts who do it on their own. Your case, I think, is more complicated by your financial situation and maybe some of the sensitivities going on in your community about how we got to where we are. I think having a lawyer on board would be helpful for the ethics issues and for the optics available. I also think there's some advantages to having a lawyer when you're talking about the ballot language. Yes, Chapter 26 of the tax code says this is what you must say. It requires some numbers that Mo Casey and your financial officers will be producing. But the lawyers will tell you, you have some leeway in explaining the purpose for the election. And that is something very striking about the ballot language from Chapter 26 for school districts. There's no space in there explaining what you're going to do with the money. That's completely different from every other entity in the state that has a voucher. They are required to explain the purpose. The other advantage to having a lawyer would be if you decide that you do want to make an adjustment in the INS rate, there are some advantages to adopting a resolution at the same time that you order the election to protect that rate should the election not pass. Of course, we're always planning on the election passing, but there are things that you do want to protect and keep in place if the election does not pass. And those are things that your lawyer can help navigate as the financial decisions unfold. I feel like I've rambled on for quite a few minutes. Do you have any questions for me?
At this point.
I guess, no, my only question is, you mentioned that you would assist the board in some form of advocacy. What would that look like?
So we have written materials, I call them one-page tip sheets, on how to do internal communications, things that staff can and cannot do, things that board members should and should not do. We also have a video training so that it's very convenient. You do it on your own time. That's a 13-minute video. We can come and present in person or Zoom if that's a more interactive approach would be more beneficial to you as a board or to Mr. Grill and the staff. We're completely flexible in how we do that.
Any questions? Anything else?
No, that was.
I don't have. Do you have more in your presentation or anything? I don't have questions right now.
No, I don't have anything specific. I wanted to talk to you about the election process. Mr. Grill, are there any topics that you would like to cover?
Not necessarily, Rose, but you did talk to me about a contingency and how that works. If you wouldn't mind talking to dollars and cents, please.
I would love to talk dollars and cents. So you may know, Mr. Grill is a very special person. My law firm has done work with him for a long time. And for voucheries, as with other types of elections, my firm does have a charge. For most voucheries, depending on a school district size, we charge between $7,500 and $10,000. And we charge that regardless of whether the election passes or not. But out of respect for Mr. Grill and what we believe he is doing in your community, for your community, we would like to offer our services at a reduced rate of $5,000, and you would only pay if the election passes.
Well, thank you very much. That's good news.
That was a surprise, yeah.
So maybe a little bit more too, so that you feel comfortable after having given you that. Our law firm has been around for over 100 years. All we've ever done is public finance. My department has existed at the firm since 2015. I came from a department in the fourth largest law firm on the face of the planet before then. We handle the largest number of elections across the state involving public finance. We do about 60 a year. We had 30 elections last November, and of those, 11 were voucheries. So we do these on a routine basis. And so we would feel comfortable supporting you.
Is there any way you can go to zero balance? Oh, I'm asking because, we had some help from Mr. Tejerina and from Juan Aguilera. I don't know if you know Juan Aguilera.
Exactly. Have been your clients.
I think they saved us on one of the bonds that we had. And we were able to get, based on that, because they were on top of it, was it $1 million, Mr. Tejerina, that he saved the district?
It's refunding. The refunding, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that both gentlemen submitted their invoice with the zero balance.
But that was on the recent, for the no debt, on the 4.5 million. Not on the, but yes, for the 4.5 million.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I guess I don't have any other questions. Anything else? Any questions? This is a discussion action. What's the recommendation of the district?
Well, we're going to be making a decision at our next regular board meeting, which is on August 10th. So if we do want to entertain their services, this would be an action item. So that way they'd be prepared to present us the language for the board meeting on August 10th.
Do you have a motion?
This is for F, right? Oh,
This
no,
is
no,
for
no,
E.
this is for E.
Yeah, this is for
A
7.
motion to approve the election council for the VATRE as presented.
Second? Second, Mr. Espinosa. Motion by Mr. Cruz. Any discussion?
Yes, I just have a question. On approving this, we're approving that we will have a better.
We're approving council. We're approving the council that's going to assist us in writing the legal language that's going to go on the ballot. I think we already made the decision to move forward with a Vader.
Yeah.
But on the 10th, we're going to actually call the election, right, sir?
So we need to have the language and everything.
Yeah. So we need the language written and everything in order to call the election. They're going to assist us with the language and everything that's going to go.
Okay.
Miss, I guess it's McCall Parkhurst.
Rose Kaniski.
Oh, Rose Kinsey.
Exactly. So as Mr. Martinez said, until the moment when the board takes a vote to order the election, it's still an open decision for you to decide. And even after you order an election, if for some reason it became moot, we could cancel that as long as ballots are not out in the mail system yet. So it's not a decision for tonight, but for the future.
No more questions? All in favor? All against? 0. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping us out.
Absolutely. And thank you for allowing the professionals to go first. My husband will be very glad that I'm not driving in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Be safe.
Now we'll move back to item 6A. TA Conservators Report?
Actually, is Mr. Hines on the line?
Yes.
I would suggest you go first.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I think I've got this down to about 5 minutes because I know this is going to be a long board meeting. So President Martinez, members of the board, Mr. Grill, for the record, my name is John Hines, and I am one of the 2 conservators assigned to Crystal City ISD by the Texas Education Agency for a 2-year placement due to Benito Juarez earning an F rating for 3 consecutive years. My role is to ensure the campus and district is at least at a C rating by the end of this upcoming year. It's been almost 2 months. I know y'all have missed me, but it's been 2 months since my last update. During that time, my work is focused on preparing the district for the upcoming school year while helping address instructional, staffing, operational, and organizational changes. Tonight, I want to provide a brief overview of that work. One of our most significant accomplishments is the alignment of reading and math curriculum across the district. We're also developing common assessment calendars and data review processes so that teachers and administrators can identify students who are struggling and respond before they fall further behind. All principals and key instructional leaders now have free access to Accountability Connect from Lead Forward. I've worked individually with campus leaders to help them use STAR performance and student growth data to make instructional decisions. We've also worked on student growth templates, master schedules, district calendars, formative assessments, gifted and talented timelines, and the teacher incentive allotment plan. Special education continues to be a major focus. Following the Region 20 review, we've been working to review services for students demonstrating academic success, create systems to monitor students' progress every grading period, develop an MTSS process that the district does not currently have, review the number of students in self-contained settings and participating in STAR Alt 2, strengthening the ARD procedures and behavior supports, provide district-wide paraprofessional training, training additional teachers in the reading by design to improve our dyslexia services. Region 20's special education team will also participate in the district's LIFT training so that curriculum, intervention, MTSS, and special education operate as one coordinated system. A considerable amount of time has also been devoted to preparing campuses to open. I've worked with campus leaders on staffing, vacancies, classroom assignments, campus maps, master schedules, employee work schedules, instructional materials, campus cleaning, and student transitions. Staffing and organizational structures have also required extensive attention. I have worked with district leadership and human resources to review employee assignments, job postings, vacancies, and key leadership positions. I participated in interviews and helped clarify the responsibilities needed with curriculum and instruction, special education, accountability, and campus leadership. I've continued working directly with the elementary, middle school, and high school leadership teams on academic data, staffing schedules, campus operations, special education, student pathways, and preparation for August. With the recent resignation of the middle school principal, preparing that campus for a successful opening is now one of our highest priorities. We've already identified concerns involving curriculum, the master schedule, intervention systems, campus readiness, and instructional leadership. Beyond campus work, I continue to participate in leadership huddles, cabinet meetings, Region 20 meetings, LIFT planning, budget discussions, security planning, construction concerns, organizational decisions, and preparation for the opening of school. So over the past 2 months, we've aligned reading and math curriculum, expanded access to student data, begun building an MTSS system, strengthened special education monitoring, expanded dyslexia training, addressed staffing and leadership vacancies, improved campus readiness, and built stronger systems for the upcoming school year. There's still considerable work ahead. However, we are identifying problems before students return, addressing them directly, and building systems that can continue serving Crystal City ISD long after the conservatorship ends. Are there any of these areas you'd like for me to spend more time explaining?
I
Or is
guess,
that enough for you?
no, how much, you probably mentioned it right now. I mean, you mentioned that now you're aligning the campuses, so that includes pre-K all the way through fifth.
Pre-K all the way to 12.
Well, so you're all
Yes, sir.
doing the junior high and high school.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then Matthew's going to give you a presentation on the growth data here in a minute. And then we spoke to Mr. Grill about doing an accountability workshop for all of you on August 3rd, if the calendar is still open.
I guess in your last couple of months you've been working with the district, what are some of the biggest issues that you've noticed that either we lacked or, we didn't have anything in place? What are the biggest things that stood out to you?
12. Curriculum alignment. It seems like pre-K 12, we've got pockets of teachers teaching from one type of material and then other teachers teaching a different type of material. And so things are just not aligned. So a student may learn something a certain way this year and then next year it's changed. Another key thing that we've learned with digging deeper and deeper into the data are students. There's not great systems in place to monitoring students who are doing well and who are not doing well. It seems like we take assessments and then move on. And that data is really not disaggregated and really dug into to see what's working and what's not working. We just keep on moving. So we've put it into the master calendar when we're going to give assessments and then when we're going to analyze that data to see if the students learn the material. Because if they didn't learn it, we need to stop right there and fix it instead of just keeping on going.
Okay. And you mentioned that some teachers are teaching one thing and some other teachers are teaching another. In your experience, what would lead to that?
That's where the instructional leadership of the campus administrators and the CNI personnel central office need to align. For example, at the middle school, when I try to figure out what is being taught at Tier 1 instruction and then what's being taught at Tier 2 instruction, I don't know that I ever got a complete answer of what's being taught and why was it an option to teach whatever they wanted to teach. Matthew and I've had a lot of conversation and we've tried to pinpoint that, but moving forward, we've fixed that host system and now I'll be monitoring things to make sure everything is put in place.
And have the teachers been engaged in the type of curriculum or that we're choosing? Or, I mean, I've heard a lot of different things when speaking with teachers and stuff that in the past, sometimes the curriculum was forced upon them to teach. And in my opinion, when someone's forced to teach something, they're just going to step away and go back to what they're doing, if not actually engaged. Did you see any of that or in any of your discussions with anybody?
I have not seen that in action. No, I haven't. And I haven't spoken with the middle school teachers. When I speak to Miss Mata or Miss Houston, they pretty much know what's going on their campus.
Okay.
Well, you kind of hit what I was concerned more about the curriculum, as you mentioned right now, the force or the curriculum that has been chosen for the district that had anything to do with it. And one of the questions I had, I mean, have you gotten any pushback, or has everybody been very receptive as far as your recommendations and leading the district in the right direction?
Everyone I've spoken to have been fantastic.
That's wonderful.
I'm sure there's somebody who wants to do what they think is best, but for the sake of the kids, we need to align from pre-K to high school. I'll continue to work with the principals. I'll continue to, see what's going on and listen, but we need to align things. I think we're here for kids, but we keep making decisions for the adults, and can't have that.
And in terms of, I guess, progress measures and throughout the district, I know at the elementary school, they use one certain type of measuring tool. I don't know exactly what they use at junior high versus the high school, but I forgot what's the iStation is what it was called last year. I don't know, changed.
Yes.
They use it at the elementary school, and I don't know if it follows junior high to high school. Is there a common growth measured progress or anything or
I
system?
think Matthew can answer those questions on what's been used and what is still, I guess, purchased for the future.
Yes, so we are using, we have been using iStation. As of right now, we're still looking, we're looking at the renewals for iStation and some other options. The ones that you emailed about, we looked into those as well. And we're looking to see, including IXL as well, trying to see which one fits the needs of the district the best.
Okay. And you mentioned IXL, and I guess Maps is in there too. Is that part of IXL?
Oh no, Maps is
No,
those
Different, right?
Yeah, it's different, but
that's different.
talk a little bit.
And I guess, the growth measure, the state's moving away from a single star test, and their beginning of year, middle of year, end of year testing is what they're moving to. So I would think in terms of measuring growth, it'd be good to align in that type of testing instead of, I have a daughter in elementary school and junior high, and they get tested on iStation weekly or bi-weekly. I'm not too sure how many times. I just know that they're always going to iStation. It always sounds like they're taking iStation tests, and my opinion is they get over-tested, when it comes to sitting down and taking a test. But it's just my observation.
No, and I share your concern. We're trying to maximize instructional time. We've mapped out everything to see how many days are being interrupted, either by drills or pictures or early dismissal, whatever. And so we're really tightening up on the master schedule at all the schools so that we maximize instructional time. We don't want to keep giving assessments and then we've wasted that instructional time and then not look at the data.
Does anybody else have questions for Mr. Hines? No? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hines.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, members of the board, and Mr. Grill, thank you for the opportunity. As you heard, Mr. Hines working in the academic arena to ensure the success of the school system. I've been working in the other arena, which is in the governance and fiscal management. And I will tell you that I have a presentation, but as he said, I'm going to try to do this very quickly because I think we've been keeping you up to date in our regular conversations, what we've been doing. But just sometimes it's good to see what the whole picture has been like. And when you talk about the objectives, tonight I want to really talk about the financial stabilization efforts, the governance improvement activities that we've had, the staffing efficiency reviews, budget development progress, the internal controls implementation, corrective action monitoring, and then what we're going to continue to do for the rest of the summer. This is kind of just our mid-time update. When we look at what we're continuing to be concerned with and continuing to work with is the accountability issues. How is it that we're holding ourselves accountable for all of the actions that have been taken? And we're shoring up those processes. And I want to just report to you that the staff has been absolutely delightful. Everyone is willing to work. Everyone is excited about how is it that they can improve such that we can, in fact, bring the district into compliance with what the expectations are. So that's always good when you come into a system and you're not fighting the system, but you're working with the system. So I see that as a very positive. We do continue to have financial challenges. You all did yeoman's work in making decisions to address that when we had the financial exigency issues. You voted, we went through those. Those were very painful when you talk about the employees that were cut. Also, when you talk about the salaries freezing, the stipends being cut, just the general efforts that when we looked at the whole system, we said needed to be modified so that we could, in fact, bring the financial situation under control. Our goal is to be able to look at the inefficiencies, look at the challenges that we have, and then address them in a context of the school system that has a declining enrollment. So how are our numbers? Are we reporting those numbers correctly so that our finances are in alignment with that? And Mr. Hines talked about alignment of academics, and I want to talk to you about the alignment with the finances. It's just like our personal budgets. You shouldn't be spending more than what you have coming in, because when you do that, guess what? Creditors are at the door, vendors aren't going to sell you anything anymore. And you're always in the catch-up mode. We're trying to bring that kind of stability to the district such that we are, in fact, gaining back our reputation with the vendors such that we pay our bills on time, ensuring that we're putting money aside when we have to put money aside, funding the things that are aligned to the board goals. And tonight, I know that that's on the agenda, and that we are really concentrating on the efforts that are going to maximize the instructional program of the district. That's why we exist as a school system, is for the instructional program. But you can't do it without the money. You can't do it without the processes. And one of the questions that you all asked, Mr. Hines, was, what do you see as those significant issues in the system? And just like he said, there was an issue of alignment with what was expected to be taught, what was actually taught, and the monitoring system. There isn't that alignment. Well, we found this very same kind of thing when we talk about the financial stability of the system. So I really just want to tell you that when we're looking at areas, we're looking at 4 big areas. We're looking at the governance. In other words, that's where you all as board members come in. What's the compliance with board policy? So far, so good. Y'all are voting really as a team of individuals. You're taking and listening to those recommendations from the superintendent. And I think that there's appropriate oversight that is happening, and that when you're making decisions, you're thinking about the good of the all. So I think that is a very good piece of information to share with you all. Finances, budget stabilization. You have a fantastic individual in Mr. Velasquez who is working very diligently to make sure that the budget is stabilized. He's working on all the data that comes to a district, enrollment, et cetera, tax, et cetera, to make sure that we have a legitimate budget that is going to meet the needs. I will tell you right now, it's going to be a budget that is going to be very, very trimmed. I think Mr. Grill has shared that with you. It is going to be a very, very lean coming year. But with the kinds of efforts that we put in place, if we continue to do those, when you think about the strategic budget decision making, when you think about the VATRA or the VADER, I also have the same kind of issue with VADER. Thank you, but anyway, when we think about also how we're addressing all of the components that make for a school district to spend, when you think about efficiencies in transportation, efficiencies in maintenance, efficiencies in how and what are those benefits that we provide to our employees, we're looking at all of those. How are we, we've now said, you all as a board need to be informed on cash flow monitoring every single month. What are those expenditure controls that we're putting in place so that you know that when somebody's asking for to purchase something, that there are all these internal controls that are being put in place and adhered to. Not just someone from on high says, pay for it, buy it, go out, sure. No, it is, do you need it? Is it aligned to our goals? Do we have the money to spend for it? Has it been asked for appropriately? Is it the best price possible? And has it been recorded in our system so that we know exactly where we are month by month by month? Every single month, the finance department is coming to you with here's what we've spent, here's what it looks like, where do we have to spend less, where do we have to tighten the belt, or where is it that we have a little bit of adjustment? So the monitoring system is also very important. When you also talk about the human capital is really your HR department. Is our staffing aligned? If you have only a certain number of students in a classroom, you only need to have a certain number of teachers teaching those individuals. To be appropriately staffed is also a way that we're going to save money. We learned that in the the financial exigency issues that we had to deal with, that we were overstaffed. So we're constantly having to do that. Organizational efficiencies. Does it take one person to drive a bus around 20 miles, or does it take one person to pick up everybody and take them to the same school and perhaps save some money there? All of those systems are being investigated. I'm not going to go into the academics because you know and you've heard all that Mr. Hines is doing. Well, we're doing those same kinds of things on the governance and finance side. And we've had a lot of activity this past couple of months. You all are to be applauded for your regular board meetings, that they are very well organized. The issues have been brought forward. You all have worked on those, you've studied them, and you vote in accordance with what you think is the very best decision to be made. There are the whole development processes for the agenda coming together, so that you're getting all the information that you need to make that sound decision. Governance expectations are being reviewed. We've enhanced the communication between the district leadership and the trustees. I think Mr. Grill has been an example to you all as far as what superintendents are expected to do and communicate with you on a weekly basis, or even more so in some cases on a daily basis, depending on what the issues are. But that kind of relationship with a superintendent is something that you all should count on. It's something that you should expect from a superintendent when we talk about, as board members, you are those individuals who represent the system and who go out and share that with the system. Whether it's negative, whether it's positive, you all need to know. And how is it that then together the problems are solved? And then what we have to do is to ensure that there are those increased monitoring systems in district operations. When we talk about academics, you say, we have data, but if you don't do anything with the data, if you don't change your instructions, the data is useless. Well, the same kind of information comes when you're talking about the operations of the system. What are the data telling us about our efficiencies? What are they telling us about our expenditures? Is there an easier, faster, better way with less expense expended to be able to handle issues? That monitoring is what you all need to be doing as board members, and you have been doing it. So we appreciate the fact that you are very diligent in your role in making sure that the monitoring of the system is coming together. You all need to be informed. The staff needs to be able to tell you, and you need to be able to communicate that out into the community. So when we talked about all of the campus staffing reports, those were all reviewed. Do we need that teacher? How many students are in that classroom? Could we not consolidate some? Do we offer that course for just 1 or 2 or 3, 4 students, or can we maximize the efforts? All of those kinds of things have been done, but it's also just the beginning. It's a constant review all the time about where we are. And I hope that that gives you comfort in knowing that that your staff is watching it, that we're watching that, and we're working together to make sure that the systems are all in place. Revenue is being monitored, expenditures being monitored, and the budget development process now is informing you, I think, probably in a much heartier way that has ever been done in the past, as far as this is how we are spending our budget. This is why we're spending it in the way that we are, and that it is all connected to the goals that you all have set as a board. If you can't explain why that expenditure and how it's related to a board goal, we shouldn't be expending it. You should be able to see that line of connection to the instructional program such that it is efficient and it is exactly what needs to be done to ensure that we have a quality school system. And I think we're very well on the road to recovery. I know that you all participated in some LSG training that was held last year towards, beginning of last year, I think.
Yes, it was, yeah, most of the first part of the year. I think we got our last training either November, I believe, November, maybe December, but starting in January, we didn't have any more training.
Well, we're going to see what we can do, even solicit from you. What is it that you would like to learn more about? How is it that you would like to improve your own professional development as board members, and see how we can train and provide those kinds of training sessions. You're going to hear tonight board goals. I will tell you that I initially only had reference to the board goals that had been posted online, and those were the outdated ones, not the ones that Mr. Martinez is referring to now. And those are the more updated ones, and they're fine. The updated ones are exactly the kind of direction that we want to go in. But now we have to make sure that every decision in the budget development process, because anyone asks you, how did you determine, how did you vote for that item to be spent on that? Well, it must be aligned to a goal. And that way you can genuinely say that the public funds are being used for what the public funds are supposed to be used for. We are going to continue to be on top of everything. It's been a pleasure to work with staff. It's been a pleasure to work with you all. We have our own professional development as conservators this coming Thursday and Friday. And Mr. Hines and I were both invited to be a speaker for a session, because we go and we have our meetings, and we're always talking about, yes, we've done this, this, and this, and this. And some of the questions have been, well, how have you managed to do things so quickly and so easily? And I said, well, quickly has been that we're on top of it. Easily has been the cooperation and the willingness on the part of both the staff and you as the board to get this in order. And so for that, we thank you. Any questions of me?
Thank you.
My only question is, you quickly mentioned about student-teacher ratio. We're not increasing the
No.
class sizes, right, to exceed the
No.
state maximum.
No, but we're being efficient. So let's, for example, say that you have, in kindergarten through fourth grade, you have a 22-to-1 student ratio. If you have 22 students, it's one teacher. If you have 44, it's two. But if you have 45, do you get a third teacher or do you ask for a waiver to change it? It's my understanding that there was it was not necessary to have any kind of a waiver for that. So we're not asking for that, but those are the kinds of decisions that we talked about, though we didn't need to implement that.
Okay.
We just wouldn't blanket go get the third teacher when in fact we could find another way, but we didn't have to do that. Anything else?
No, I don't have any questions. Anybody have more questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Dr. Rayner.
Item 6B is superintendent's report.
Sure. So at your desk is my superintendent's report. I'll make it quick. We ended up the school year with an attendance rate of 91.32 and overall enrollment of, 1,456. So we were down 103 students. If you'll turn to the third page of this handout, put together a little spreadsheet here, has a bunch of arrows on it. And basically, it's just tracking enrollment from the 25-26 school year to the 26-27 school year. And this will kind of dovetail into what Dr. Rayner was speaking about on teacher-pupil ratios. So especially at Ms. Mata's campus, when we're looking at kindergarten through fourth grade, there's a 22-to-1 mandate. And so having 22 or less students is optimal. Something to keep an eye on as we move into the school year. We're making assumptions here that all students are returning from this past school year to this incoming school year with this graphic. The two grade levels in yellow, so PE and pre-K, those are estimates based on our roundup registration that we did in May. You never really know what you're going to have in pre-K until they show up on the first day of school. So don't get alarmed that we had 60 kids in pre-K this last year. We're only showing 27 plus 6. That number most likely will rise. So if all things were to hold true, that shows about 80 students less than this current year we just finished. However, always remember the pre-K numbers are down because we don't have actual numbers yet until school starts. So it might be realistic that we are nillo. We see a flat line on our number of kids as far as enrollment goes. With that, our legal fees year to date. On the calendar, we've had to make some minor adjustments. After speaking with Conservator Hines and TEA, we have to ensure that there's 175 days of instruction to qualify for the additional day school year funds. And so we had to identify 2 weather days so that we identified those in March and then in May. We also miscounted the number of teacher days. There has to be 187 days, so we added 2 more teacher work days in the calendar back into August. So all things all said or done, they were very minor changes. Just for the record, I've mentioned this in my Friday update a couple weeks ago. I've moved away from wanting to implement the pay to play for extracurricular. It's getting feedback from mainly the Athletic Booster Club that parents were upset that they were going to have to pay a fee if their students were going to participate in athletics. And so when we collectively get about $15,000 per student in local, state, and federal revenues, I just felt like it was a gamble of not chasing students away. However, just food for thought as you move into a new era with your new superintendent in this upcoming school year, I was looking at the end, $100 per sport for high school and $50 per sport for junior high, and then $100 for band. And that was going to net us a little over $1 million in revenue, which would have gone into our Function 36, and then we could have used that $1 million of local funds in Function 36 for other purposes. So keep that in mind as you move into the eve of next school year. If revenue's still tight, again, based on whether or not the Baytree passes or not, the district needs to understand that we still have that as an option. There are some schools we found that are doing this, so we wouldn't be the most unique ones out there. With that said, just a final draft of all the board meetings. So this is a loose leaf. It's also in your superintendent report. I've highlighted all the board meetings we've got coming up. So we have one this Thursday to review the applicants for superintendent, and then the first 3 rounds of superintendent interviews Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. Call back interviews the following week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. One thing that I mentioned to Mr. Martinez is the board could choose to name a loan finalist sooner than what's identified here on this timeline if you want to. It's something we can talk with the TASB folks when they're here this Thursday. Okay. It just, with my circumstances of needing to get out of here sooner than later, getting your new superintendent identified and named as a loan finalist is paramount, I think, for you all as a board and the school district as a whole, as well as the community. And that's my report.
Mr. Grow. 6C, CFO reports.
Good afternoon, good evening, now. On page 278 and 279, you have the Lone Star report. That's our investment pool. What Anna's passing out is the Zavala County Bank and the Prime Bank statement. At the time the agenda was set up, those reports were not available to the district. So we printed them and provided them to you. On page 278 of the agenda is the Lone Star investment report. I'm just going to call your attention some minor or some major items that I think are there. You'll have the debt service, which is a second account on that list. Currently, it is at $3.9 million. We still have a payment to make in August the 15th, and that's approximately maybe $2 million, maybe $1 million something. So this is the balance that Mr. Tejeda was referring to after that payment is done. Right below that, you have the payroll account, which is about $236,000. That account has money only because it's got to clear some bills and things of that nature. Then below that, you have the EHBA account. That's got about $213,000. That's money that actually the district subsidized that program several years ago. At one point, the district will want to pull that money back, pay itself back. That's information for you. And the last item on there, the general fund currently is at $361,000 at Lone Star.
Robert, I have a question. On the payroll, you mentioned that right now we have what?
Currently, that account has got up $236,000, and again, those are funds waiting for checks to be drawn on, balances to be transferred over to Zavala County Bank, which is our clearing account, and the different funds are assigned to pay certain fees or certain items, certain payrolls. So they're ready to be transferred out to be consumed. So it's not money necessarily sitting for us. We don't have that luxury.
So, I mean, we will have enough money to pay for all this.
And that's the next report I'll tell you about. I'll mention that. Now, on the Zavala County Bank, that is the statement from them for the June month. And you'll see the different balances that are sitting there in current account at the end of June was $516,000. Okay, and that was to clear the June payroll end of the month. But most of the money was still sitting there, did not yet hit. Those are the other items that are there. The other items listed there equal to about $750,000. We have a $35,000 CD that's been sitting there for a while, making us a couple of dollars. We won't touch it unless we need it. Overall, at Zavala County Bank, at the end of June, we had $785,000. You see $665,000. Those are pledges that the bank has set up for us, for the district, that to support the items that we have in their account. They have to pledge that. That's above the $750,000 by the FDIC. Okay. The following page is the Prime Bank. And these funds are due to the loan that the district secured them, the 4.5. This page that you see here, it identifies the balance that we had of $1,195,000. That 945 with a negative on there is because it's been drawn and transferred over to Lone Star or to Zavala County Bank. Actually, it was transferred over to the other bank account that we have at Prime, and you'll see that in the following page. And that money is to be used for payroll primarily and maybe some minor operational costs. At the end, we transferred out of the 945, we expended 659,000, leaving us a balance at that bank in that account of 286,000. That's the statement on the bank account. Shortly, I'll let you know about the loan and the balance of the loan and the process of that loan. Do you have any questions on this?
Yes. Well, I don't know, but it deals with budget. In the last couple of months, have we got any money from the appraisal district?
Yes.
I remember it was about, they said about $1 million.
Thank you for bringing that up. We had a little over $1 million for both funds, for the debt service and the M&O. The debt service was about $300,000. The M&O, maintenance and operation, which is our main clearing fund, was about a little over $700,000.
Or is it here now? Or?
It's in there now. Yeah. It came in the month of June. We picked up a few dollars last week, but they did an excellent job collecting that money. I want to give thanks to the appraisal district and their staff. We really did need it.
Yeah.
If you look further on page, I'll go to the bottom line, on page 39 is the list of the invoices or bills that we have unpaid. Currently, that's at about $1,773,000, $1.1 million, that outstanding debt.
Now, are these slowly being paid down or okay?
Yes. Previous report, if you remember, was like 1.4. We've been whittling away, of course, depending on the availability of the funds that we have in our account.
Robert, that signifies what?
The red are simply dates that they were due or estimated to be due to be paid.
Doesn't mean that they have been paid.
No, so they're not.
All these are unpaid.
Correct.
All of these are unpaid.
Now, let me mention, these are bills that we're aware of. Because every once in a while, one of them will show up. Those infamous ghost bills that I mentioned a while back. We're getting less of those, so we're feeling more comfortable. Okay. All these bills are in our accounting system. They used to not be, that's why they were bills. They're now in our system. As Dr. Reina mentioned earlier, everything is being accounted for in the system, every expense or every encumbrance. Okay.
What was the old process?
When I was here, that was the process. Accounting for every penny, every expenditure, every requisition. In recent years, that fell by the wayside and it was done manually and not recorded, or I'm not sure what their process was, but it was not a system that documented every expense. If you look at the next one, will be the prime. What's that?
Give me an answer.
Yeah.
So the process has been that it's a paper process. People fill out a requisition on a piece of paper, they turn it into their supervisor, gets signed off, it goes to the central office and then it's manually entered in.
You can find it right now.
Superintendent would override,
No, no, for real.
Who do I contact?
pay them.
Who do I call so they can send me a credit so I can do it?
President. You know what? Let me find out.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Moving forward, we're going to train all the department heads, all the administrators, secretaries, leadership team leads in the Ascender program. So everything's going to be put in live, so people won't be able to get a PO issued to them without a specific override in the system. So that'll make all our accounting live. That will keep from overspending unless somebody purposely goes into the system. An administrator, the business office, superintendent's office, it makes an override, which would then to you guys on the board in y'all's monthly reports to something that's not being paid. So that is one of your best internal controls on your budget and your finance side is having everything go through the Ascender operating system instead of paper that gets lost or doesn't get entered or for one reason or another is not to be dealt with.
One more question, Robert. On the right-hand side, on some of these things, it says pay with card. I mean,
Correct. Some of these items we paid with a debit card, the JP Morgan card that we secured several years back. We would pay that and that would basically delay the invoice, just presses it on, but we still have to pay it. We still have to pay it.
Even with a credit card, they should be going through the accounting system before they're issued a card.
yeah.
So again, that keeps people from charging things to a card without it having proper
Documentation.
Yes.
The staff, when they traveled, they would just need to make the requisition and then return the purchase order to the JP Morgan card because they were traveling. So that account, that amount that Mr. Grill mentions would be documented, but it would be charged up against the card. So when the invoice came in or the statement came in from the card, that would show up on the card. And it would charge this respective fund or respective account. Now, the report you're looking at is this one here. Let me give one to is simply a status of the loan. We currently have a credit and we should be getting those funds, the 1.5 million of the 4.5. We've already received $3 million. So we still have a credit, which is in a few days for us to receive that 1.5. And simply that's just the report on it. We've already made a couple of payments on interest. Actually, we'll make one. We made one in June and we're making one this week, I think. And it's scheduled to pay off in December. And I'll show you that in the budget. Any questions on that? Go to page 290. That's the item on the agenda that said longevity, summary finance longevity report. What I did there is identify it far back as 2021, 2022, the revenues that were adjusted. That's what this report represents. In 2021, the original allotment was $8,867,000. The adjustment to that amount was only $432,000. The following year, 22-23, the allotment was $4,987,000, and that adjustment was 1.9 million in the good. They gave us more money. They gave the district more money. They identified either more ADA or different tax numbers, but they increased it at that time.
Why from 2021 to 2022, they gave us $4 million.
No, they didn't give us $4 million.
Not an allotment given.
The original amount allocated for 22-23 was $4,900,000.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But before on 21, 22, it was 8 million.
Right.
So
There must have been some awesome amount of APA in the district and a very low tax collection or tax assumption as far as values are concerned, the TA owed us more money based on their formulas, and we would take it any day. So now the following year on 23-24, the allocation was 5,711,000, but the adjustment was 4,163,000, which left the district with only 1.5 million to operate as far as revenues coming in from the state for the foundation school program. And you go next to the 24-25, and in that year, the original allocation was 5,064,000, and they added another 53,000. For 25-26, the original allocation was 6,900,000, and the adjustment is perceived to be 497,000, almost $500,000. And let me explain. In my world of finance and school finance, the anomaly was the 4 million reduction, but it's a function of the day-to-day operation, because we have no idea how many students coming in, what the tax receipts are going to be, so we plan for that. So you remember fund balance back in the day when I was out there in the 1900s, as my grandkids say, we managed and we got projections of higher numbers than we thought. We were conservative. If the monies came in, great. If we were overpaid, not a problem. The money was in the bank. So the following year they took it. We already had it. And when we were short, we had a fund balance, a reserve to absorb that cost. And as we closed the year, we would let the board know. Or there was an expense outside the budget, we'd ask the board for permission to expend it out of reserves. We transferred monies or allocated funds from the reserves as revenue for that year, and then adjusted the budget to match that. But that was done as we closed the year or before we closed the year with permission from the board, always with permission from the board. Do you have any questions regarding this report? And again, it'll fluctuate. It should not be an anomaly. We just have to work with it. Be aware that funds will be short or funds will be over.
For this year's funds, is there any settle up moving to next year?
From this year, the perception, and I say perception, probably be the reality, is that they're going to pull back $497,000 because probably ADA is not coming in as they originally thought it would come in. So it's not a very big number when you have the funds available. It's a huge number when you don't have. And right now, I think Mr. Grill is working with TA and Dr. Reina, I guess, to see how we can manage these. And there's different options that he'll entertain or share with you all later. On the following page, on page 291, is a graph simply of the impact that these dollars had, simply a visual. And what you see there is the first set of numbers are the current numbers, and you see the fluctuation of the original allocation. The ones in the middle are the adjustments. And you'll see where right in the middle, for 23-24, we took a hit the district took a hit of $4 million. And the last group of bars there is the final.
And all this is based on ADA. It's information that the district provides to TA, correct?
Actually, the district generates that information, submits it to TA, you're correct. And the finals are usually done in June, maybe a resubmission later to clean that up, opt-ins that show up. And of course, the appraisal district's numbers, the values, because it's valued per child, regardless of what they got. If you get too much money from taxes, TA takes that frosting off your cake. Okay.
Yeah, in my research, I went all the way back to 2016 of the schedule of finance, and I think every single year there was a settle up of $500 to $1 million almost.
But
there.
You prepare for it.
Yeah.
You prepare for it and anticipate it, and you adjust your budget, your expenses. Or you have some reserves to go to. Mm-hmm. On page 292 is the available school fund. That's the other fund. That one did not have any impact once they identified those numbers and they allocated that. They did not make any changes as far as this report's concerned for this period of time.
And this one is paid monthly, correct? This one's paid almost.
Pretty much paid monthly.
And the other SO is,
The other one is paid 3 times a year, September, October, and then in December, settle up, and now in December. I'm sorry, in August.
They're gonna be giving us school districts the money in August, right?
Well, they're gonna give us money in August, but it depends on what we settle up with and what they'll actually give us.
Well, but like, I know, I mean, sometimes they give us the money. The beginning of school year in September, we're trying to buy stuff, so now.
Exactly. That's their anticipation that the school's gonna buy supplies, odds and ends, to start the year, and that's why they give us 2 payments, September and October. Okay, let me see what else we got. I guess, do you want me to go into the workshop? Something else.
I'm gonna take a break on finances
Yeah,
and move forward to
we'll come
16.
back.
It's not dry, is it?
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. Move to item 6D, COPS, community oriented policing services grant.
Okay, so one comes up, a grant writer I know contacted me and let me know that there was a $500,000 COPS grant available. Ray, you remember some of our very earliest conversations. You were asking me about fencing, and see if we could get that money that we didn't apply for. So these COPS grants are periodically.
Yeah,
So
I remember the conversation, they said, you guys missed it, but now.
So we're not going to miss this one. So Juan's going to tell us what all we got to do.
Okay, so, board members, Grill, thank you for allowing me to speak today. The COPS grant will provide us, like Mr. Grill said, up to $500,000 in money for upgrades in our PA systems, in our fencing system, in our electronic access. We can install card readers, additional card readers, things of that nature that we already have in place, but we can upgrade them and fix the ones that are in need of repair. We can also apply for panic alert badges. I'm sure you all have seen them online where teachers can carry a panic alert badge with them. Also for training for police officers, additional training for them. So we're very excited about this grant. We're working with Alma Gutierrez as a consultant. And the good thing about this process is that she's going to apply for a waiver for the 25% cash match. And so the district is looking at possibly getting this grant and possibly costing us $0. Alma Gutierrez will get paid out of the grant, so we don't have to pay anything out of pocket, which is another big plus. So she's been successful in writing this grant already in the past, so we're very excited about this and getting this. That way we can complete our fencing, can finish that completely, wrap that up. And then also, as you all remember, the DVA that we had, the district vulnerability assessment that we had from TEA, they identified that we needed to install window film, ballistic window film, in front of our campuses, all the front glass of our campuses, and basically every entrance in our campuses. So
Have you gotten like an estimate of what it would cost us?
the full cost,
Coming from local, right? They're not gonna give us money.
unfortunately, there is no one locally, sir, that can install ballistic film.
What I'm saying is, we're gonna have to pay for it. Or TA is gonna give us money.
Right now, at this moment, sir, we're looking at paying for it. So the grant will help us immensely with that because we're looking at possibly a high cost. I don't know the exact amount yet, but we're expecting it to be up there in the upper hundred thousands for all this installation. It has to be licensed and bonded. It has to be set in a particular way where it has to be a licensed installer. And TEA will check that to make sure that it is installed correctly. So we want to make sure we do it right. If we're going to invest in our campuses and the safety of our children and our staff, we want to make sure we do it the right way. So I'm already working with a vendor from San Antonio. I already have all the measurements for all the windows. I'm forwarding that to them, and then they're going to send me back quotes so I can present to you all the better numbers. Mm-hmm.
I've had no less than 3 Zoom meetings with TEA over the last couple of weeks, and they're very serious about us getting into compliance on any glass that goes down to ground level. So that's how they define what requires the bullet resistant film. So these are generally your front doors and side doors that have glass, and then any glass that's around those doors. And it's a bullet resistant film. It's not a bulletproof film. But we need to prioritize the funds for that first, and then we've talked about fencing and some other things if the money allows. But this comes at a perfect time because TEA is expecting us to get this done like yesterday. So they're aware of us applying for this grant, and so they're going to be a little bit more patient with us. And of course, one of the other items later tonight is to talk about the elementary school consolidation, whichever campus we're not going to occupy with students, we don't have to put that film on the glass right away. It probably wouldn't hurt to go ahead and do it if we had the funds, so that way it's done in the future. But anyhow, Juan, anything else?
No, any questions for me?
In terms for the quote, have you identified any windows that need to be replaced?
Yes, sir. I'm identifying that.
Part of that as well?
Yes, sir. That would have to be part of it because we won't be able to install the film on any either cracked windows or any windows that have been replaced with plexiglass. So we have to replace them with that impact resistant window. Yes, sir. So yeah, I'm identifying those as I'm going around. And I already did all my inspections on every single campus already. I'm working on the report right now for them. Putting it all together for them. Yes.
Any questions in terms of that?
Freaking out.
Well, that's it. Thank you very
As a
much.
side note, Ms. Gutierrez is working with Juan on a different grant for technology too, but that's
Yes.
not on the agenda. But
Much for how much?
That one's up to 200,000. We can purchase Chromebooks and desktops, things like that nature, laptops. Looking at probably just focusing on Chromebooks for the children. But that's, I'll have more information on that.
good
Thank you very
financial
much.
news, yes.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 6E, 26-27 board meeting dates.
Okay, just real briefly at your desk and in your board packet also is just the dates for the upcoming regular board meetings. So, of course, tonight and then our next August 10th.
Okay. 6F, tennis court resurfacing.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, you've been patiently waiting.
I've seen her.
While she's coming forward, if you don't mind, Ms. Martinez, I'll kind of preface what we're going to talk about a little bit. She presented to me, and then I delegated to Robert Alvarado, because Robert oversees maintenance, the tennis courts. Robert Alvarado. Yes, thank you. So she has a individual who has been a donor to her tennis program for quite a while, and he's made an offer that's very nice offer, is to pay to resurface all the tennis courts. So what the letter is from Coach Martinez is, and what I talked to her about is, we certainly would like to take advantage of this donor and resurfacing the tennis courts, but he was wanting to pay for the resurfacing himself. But we own the facilities, and so when I spoke to him personally, I explained to him that it would be better if we hired the contractor, and then once we go through a bidding process and elect which contractor, then he could write us a check as a donation for that contractor's sum. So with that, Coach, turn it over to you.
He's a 1968 alumni from Crystal City, Mr. Joe Bentoncourt. Joe Bentoncourt.
Around.
He's still around, yes. Thankful for us. He's mainly known for basketball. So I just got a little note saying that I had a message from this one person, and I recognized the name, but I said, it's basketball. I don't know why he needs to talk to me. But he also played tennis. So he subscribes to the Sentinel, and he saw that we were doing very well. And he says that he wants to resurface our courts and wants the option. Once we get out of the mess that we're in, he wants to build 12 more courts. And that would be very beneficial for us because right now we have to pay for everything. We can't hold any tournaments or anything to bring any revenue in at all. So our sport is basic pay for all the tournaments that we play. So that would be awesome if we could do that. But right now, he does want to resurface the courts. The courts should be resurfaced every 5 years. And I've been the head coach since 2012 and it's never been done.
The enrollment of the kids is more and more every year.
We have, our junior high program is anywhere from 40 to 60 kids and we're on 4 courts. Our high school, we're about 30, 40 kids as well. And once junior high starts, we're all there in the same courts.
So if we resurface the courts in between your fall and spring program, when would that be?
It would, hopefully we go to playoffs again. We should be done in October, November.
October 13th.
And then they start when again?
January.
It'll be about a month
And it takes about 5 to 7 days.
to research.
We just need to find somebody that's nearby so they can, I think Mr. Grill said that where he was in Dehanas before, they've had tennis courts resurfaced and built. So if, just getting the bids.
Yeah, we'll have to put out an RFP and collect some bids. And Mr. Bittencourt has a few contractors that he's talked to, so we'll make sure that they know that there's a open bid for the process. And this would be something we would maybe initialize in September, October, so that way then we'd have some quotes then to get with Mr. Bittencourt and then see if he's still willing to pay whatever X amount that becomes. Okay. There was a question about the tennis courts, were they on school property or not? Have a little powwow with my staff, the courts are on our property.
They're on our okay.
These were taken this afternoon. Any questions?
No, it's just a great opportunity for the district, and if you do speak to him or anything, just tell him thank you.
I'm supposed to call him right after.
Tell him thank you, and it's greatly appreciated on the district's part. And any help is great help that he can provide.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 6G, sale of real property.
Okay, so we've been kicking this can around for a while, so y'all asked for some more information about the properties. Again, I'm not going to tell you I know much about the properties the district owns, but Anna did a lot of homework on these properties, got with the CAD, got information from them as well. The rumor has it there's at least one, maybe 2 parties interested in buying this building itself. So having 2 means we won't get lowballed. Okay. But this isn't an action item tonight, but something that I would encourage the board to consider in a future or a near future board meeting is to go ahead and decide, are we going to sell these properties? And if so, then we would have to hire a realtor or somebody to help negotiate. The old grammar school has become a kind of a pain here recently. Some scuttlebutt in social media about children playing in the building. So I ordered Mr. Alvarado and Chief Rios to board up the windows and doors and step up our security around the building. Then the city sent us a notice requiring us to put fencing around the building, which comes at a time where we don't have money for expenses like that. But I told Mr. Alvarado to look into what I call construction fencing, which is not a permanent fence, but it's a fence that's self-standing. But it's what you put around construction sites to keep people out of construction sites. I have very limited knowledge about the grammar school as far as, I know has some historical significance, but also understand that it's quite possibly a condemned building. So, we're going to have to come to terms on possibly bulldozing the building down. Now, there might be asbestos in that building. Somebody mentioned that too. And, we'd have to have an abatement company and at least come out and look at that. And all that costs money. So it might behoove us to try to sell the darn thing as is and not deal with all of that mess. So, entertain any comments, questions from the board?
I think we need to, entertain anything that we can to get money to the district, right, or bring some sort of revenue. Even this building, right? I mean, of course, where would we go? Or would the administration office go?
I would propose that it goes to Benito Juarez Elementary School. We have some deferred maintenance that needs to be taken care of over there, which is a bunch of down air conditioning units. If we're going to use classrooms as office spaces, obviously we need to have those air conditioned. The nice thing is we have that facility.
Yeah.
And when it's occupied by adults, we don't have to meet all of the safety standards that we do if it's occupied by students. But that way we keep the building alive. Any building that just sits there vacant deteriorates.
Yeah.
So, I think it would be financially a wise thing to do. As far as the structure itself, Benito Juarez, it would be the right thing to do. I just think it's the right thing to do all the way around. Now, again, my days here are limited, but y'all's days are not. And so having this continuity of conversation in the near future with your new superintendent and seeking some direction. And I also think it's good public relations with your community that you might possibly ask them for a higher tax rate, that we're showing them we're being good stewards by trying to get rid of properties that we don't need and create some revenue out of that, especially like this building here. This building's big, it's nice, but it's not a have-to-have thing. I can tell you I've worked in two different districts where the central office was in the high school of the districts I worked in. So it's not a unique thing to not have a central office, especially in a smaller school district like Crystal City. So I think being good stewards to the taxpayers is a wise thing to do as far as marketing and selling these things, because it shows that we're trying to do our part on generating some revenue. We need to make this an action item eventually.
That's what I was getting to. What would be the process of going through this and possibly putting it on the next agenda?
Well, I mean, putting it on the next agenda is fine. Want to go out for requests for qualifications for a realtor, and then have some realtors proposal to the district on what services they can render as far as marketing this property. Of course, the realtors are going to make their money off of the sale too, but I don't think you have anybody qualified on staff that can market and sell the property. And we can get I think Anna got some of this, some appraised values to it. So we have a little bit of an idea. The thing about appraisal values is they're always too low when you're wanting to sell, and they're always too high when you're paying taxes. So, the thing is we want to get a realtor that can do a multiple listing and things like that. So we can put this as an action item next month if you want.
Yeah. Can you also, maybe not as an action item, but informational? The education office center, I don't know that you know that it belongs to the school district. I think they're in the last year of a contract. I think school district forever has been paying them.
Their lease ends in 2035.
Monday?
Their lease ends in 2035.
That's sort of my next question, sir.
You talking about the nutrition center?
Yeah.
All right, so Jesse, I forget his last name, with the Commissioner's Court.
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez, yes. he's come to see me a couple times, and he says that the county wants to buy, or maybe not buy, but take over the nutrition center. But he said that they'd fix it up, make it look nice and functional. And I said, well, you're going to have to present that to the board. You know, I can only represent that. And again, I don't have background knowledge on, you know, if those have something unique or special to the school or to the community. But that's why y'all are elected officials to make those decisions.
Okay. Any questions? Item 6I, budget workshop.
All right, Robert, you're back on deck.
The presentation that you had earlier from Open Casey, is an awesome agency, and they're made up of people primarily from TA, so they pretty much know the stuff inside out. On page 296 is a side-by-side. In the time that I was here before, back in the day, we only utilized the TA summary of finance, their template. Open Casey's do something slightly different. This time around, the district has been using Moken Casey to help them with their TNT and their tax publication as the budgets get approved. What I did, and I did this last time as well, a while back, I did a side-by-side of TA's numbers and Moken Casey's, and the variance is column C. If you look at line 13, we've got 30 cents on one column, column A, and 24 cents in column B. That's what Moken Casey had in the template at the time we downloaded this.
I'm good.
If you look at the following page, on page 297, getting to the item that's highlighted, you'll notice line 42 to line 46. Those numbers are relatively the same under those awards. Line 49 says per capita from the available school funding. One difference here is $27,000. That's the amount that we talked about earlier that gets paid once a month. That's that side of the funding structure. Overall, line 47, tier one of the agencies, TA, is saying, based on the numbers and the data that's in here, which is ADA of about 1,186 for both of them, both templates. One would generate 9,684,000, whereas the next one would generate 9,673,000. The difference about $11,000, so fairly close. That's the number based on the data that the district generates. We provide data to Moken Casey, the TA, via PEMS, via the appraisal district as well. At that time, this would run, they're fairly close. They're saying your budget to provide services for the children that you have in your district, from the basic kids to the special ed program kids to CNI and all that, instructional basis. Nothing to do with extracurricular or co-curricular activities. Our budget should be in the area of about $15,500,000. Now, the local assignment, based on the value that is being presented or being recognized here, the values that were done are on line number 7 and 8 on the previous page. Number 8 saying for this year they're projecting $1,660,000,000. That's not what the appraisal district is going to certify this week. They're going to certify, I already got the scoop on it, it's about $1,170,000, a significant drop, which means TA, if the numbers remain the same as far as ADA, will provide us more funding on their side. We don't have the money, the revenue per child. Now, from the website, there was $5,840,000. Today, that's actually as of June 30th, what the website at TA represents for the allocation, which is similar to line 50 in this document. About $800,000 more than what's in here. Okay, off the TA website. So TA is constantly changing those numbers as well. Overall, line 61 The projection for revenue, this is strictly revenue from TA, from the foundation school program and the available school fund would be 6,974,000 on the TA template. On the Moken Casey template, again, I say this at the time, was 6,592,000. A difference of about 381 between the two. So fairly close. And I know it's a significant number, but fairly close.
And that's based off of the property values of 1.6 billion.
Exactly. And the number of kids that they're projected.
So we could see an increase since our values are going to go down.
This does not take into account any additional pennies. Later, it does take into account the 5 cents that the board adopted many years ago that is allowed without a beta. If you turn the page 298, that is a comparison of by function, the current year that's in budget, and the expenses that are in the system right now in the projection for next year. The biggest part of this is payroll. That's function 11 would be your instructional, and you can see that down the line on the right-hand side under 2627. At the bottom, total appropriations this year is about, and this includes our food service program, 22,817,000 versus what's in the system right now as expenses of 18,579,000. Not everything is in this document just yet. We're still putting things in there. We do have, let me point out this out. We do have the 4.5 or $4.7 million that we're paying the bank back, the loan. That is included in here as a payment. It's an obligation. We have it already spoken for. It also includes only stipends for athletics and band. And it's about 149,000, not including fringe benefits. That's about a third of that. It does not include the INS payment. The money was taken from INS. It is not included in this cost. That's still an obligation to the district. It also does not include in this budget the 1.1 that you saw in the bills list earlier. And it does not include extra stipends such as cheerleader stipends, all those. You know, the UIL stipends, they're not in here. The reason the athletic and band are in there because they're part of the employee salary. So HR has already identified that and updated their files. So if they were rolled into our budget system, that's where they're included. The others come in at a different time. They're not just yet assigned by the principals, by the campus staff. So what you don't have in here, like I said, is those stipends. You don't have the police department stipends. You don't have cheerleader stipends for high school or junior high, pep squad, flag, and dance teams. They are not in here. That totals to about $1,293,206. Currently, of what we know, okay, it's a lot of stipends you have out there that are not in here. So when you compare that against the revenue that we're projecting on these numbers, what's coming down the road? Currently, the deficit is at about $5.2 million. We're short money to balance this budget. We need that much more. Now, if we set aside and didn't pay those bills, or we won the lotto or something, and then we took care of the existing bills, of course, that cost would come down. That variance would come down. I guess the best that we could do to finish is at about $2.7 million. Okay, but you do have to account for the fact that the district owes the debt service fund monies. You've got to keep that in mind, and you got to keep in mind, as Dr. Reina mentioned and Mr. Tijerina, and what I'm sharing, and I guess with Moken Casey, we have to adjust our expenses, even though you may have adopted salary table or schedule. You've got to keep in mind we may not have the funds to fulfill that obligation that we may have committed to. Okay, there's quite a few items that are not yet in the system. Once we do that, we put them all in, we settle up everything that's coming in, utilities and so forth, insurances, you'll get a better picture. Now, we'll have an assumption of the projected revenues. Moken Casey will provide that once the appraisal district certifies this week and provides us the information, which we will share with them immediately, so they can give us a better projection of revenue coming in. We can control the expenses to some degree, and it's very difficult to control the revenue coming in. It's based on ADA and values, okay? Now, if we're able to pass a Vader, as they mentioned earlier, besides the extra pennies or dollars from tax collections, TA will provide some more funds because we made an extra effort. You made an extra effort, here's your reward. Of course, if you go too far ahead, TA takes some of that gravy or that frosting off your cake. Not a lot, but it would be some money they might recoup. Okay?
You're mentioning is about 5.2 million. Where our deficit is.
That we're over right now. That we have to adjust or offset with revenue coming in or a delay in payment of some of these items.
Yeah.
One off the bat, real quick, would be not paying the debt service immediately, but there's got to be a plan in place. We should have a plan in place. Mr. Grill and I will visit.
Yeah. Well, let me make a few comments. So last week I forwarded to y'all two different, I'll just call them investigations for lack of better terms. So one of them is based on a complaint. Somebody's complained to TEA about our deficits and also using our bond indebtedness funds. The other is a fiscal management review, which y'all been through one of these. There's some evidence that Ms. Baronis replied to one of these in December for this past school year. So 7 months ago or 8 months ago now. But they're really zeroing in on the $2.7 million that was borrowed out of your INS funds, okay? And they're wanting us to give them a plan on how we plan to repay that $2.7 million. So I want to be clear what Robert's communicating tonight. This is budget workshop number 2 on August 10th, which is our next regular board meeting. We're going to be adopting a budget. All right. So you need to understand we're going into a budget right now today with information that we don't have funds to repay that $2.7 million. We don't have money to pay back some of the other debt that we owe. And we're still not balanced as far as our, we'll just call it payroll for lack of better words. It's stipends that we've approved, even though they're reduced at a 50% rate. So we have to understand why this Vader is so important for the overall health of the district. Now, once we pay off these debts, the burden on the shoulders of the school district lessen, but that'll be a year from now. So, when we were looking at Mo Casey's presentation tonight, going upwards to 17 or 18 cents, that creates a scenario where we have recapture. Is everybody familiar with recapture? All right, so that's where we would actually pay some of the monies back. But as Josh Haney said from Mo Casey and Robert just said here a moment ago, when the state sees that we're stepping out there trying to generate more funds through this Vader, we're also going to get more funds from the state. All right. And this is the financial health of the district that we're talking about. So quite possibly we're going to be recommending a deficit budget to you all on August 10th, with the understanding also on August 10th you're going to be calling the Vader election. And then from there, we have to have a good community campaign on why this money's needed, and we have to speak to it factually. And again, like Rose mentioned tonight, they'll give us some training if we need it, you all and the new superintendent especially, on how to address this to the community. So bad news is we're not out of this pickle, even though we reduced staff by 23%, even though we cut stipends by 50%, even though we've trimmed from a $26 million budget to right now we're proposing an $18 million budget. Okay, so we're reducing the budget quite a bit. That all collectively is not enough. So, selling, I don't know what this building's worth, but, selling these properties isn't going to make us $2.7 million, but at least we're trying to make some funds there come in, revenue come in. So I don't want anybody leaving this meeting with the assumption that we're going to have manna to sprinkle on this and fix it next month at the next board meeting. I mean, collectively, from the conservator's efforts to Robert's efforts to the staff here at the central office's efforts, my efforts, I mean, we've lifted a lot, but we haven't lifted it over our heads yet. And I'm proud to say that we've done these things and we've gotten where we're going, but it's unfortunate we're still not there.
And I guess, Mr. Velasquez, you still have some more presentation.
I'm just going to mention that you've got some graphs and they're just some visuals for you of the same numbers that are on here. One of the prior year or the current year actually, and the coming year, and those will change. Then you've got, this is how it breaks down by function and object and payroll and so forth. Just a little more information for you. That's all that is. We've got the tax office report preliminary they provided back on June 23rd. And like I said, appraisal district doesn't have to give us anything until they certify. But I've been bothering them and they help with as much as they can. And this projection or estimate was done on the 23rd. I spoke to them, like I said earlier, actually late last week, and they gave us a little more information on Fridays when I spoke to them. And that's when they gave us a glimpse that it may be a 1.1 billion versus the 1.6 the TA is putting out there.
So we'll get our certified values from the CAD, what, next week or week after next?
It may be next week, if not after this week.
And then no later than the 25th, TEA's got to send us, will be our MCR, our maximum compressed rate. And Robert will have to use the truth and taxation documents. She'll present you how we get to the tax rates, and Mo Casey's actually going to interface with us on that too. For clients of Mo Casey, so they're going to assist in us calculating what our maximum compressed tax rates, so that MCR.
The next meeting when we present the budgets, are you going to present a budget not passing the Vader and a budget?
I have to show that to you. The Vader will be hopeful. And I guess Mo Casey will provide us the projected numbers if we pass the revenue, and they'll also provide the projected revenues with existing tax rate, with a maximum tax rate. The compressed rate is 0.6169 currently, and as they mentioned earlier, because our values did not increase, they remained or dropped, they're going to let us keep last year's compressed rate. But on top of the 61 cents, the board has approved the 5 cents, so we get that. It'll be similar tax rate. Again, the board has the option to offset or project to offset the tax rate from on the debt service side if we go up this way because they got the funds available in reserves. And it's a little technical, but we've done that before. But yes, we'll present something to you based on the data that Mo Casey gets at the best time, which will be after the certified rates.
So there'll be several action items. One action item will be to adopt the budget. And the next item will be to adopt the tax rate. Okay. And then from there, we'll adopt what will be the language for the Vader. So we'll have to give Rose our tax rates, so then that way she can bring us the language on what that looks like. And we have to post that in the newspaper no less than 10 days before the board meeting and no more than 30 days before the board meeting. So, I mean, for us, this turnaround's pretty quick. So the numbers you're seeing tonight aren't going to be tweaked a whole lot between now and then, because he's got to post that in the newspaper no less than 10 days before the August 10th board meeting.
Mo Casey is actually going to be the one that does the notice for the paper based on the data we provide them. Mo and Casey have been doing that for the last few years. I left, I was doing it, but then the district hired somebody, the agency, to provide that for them, their expertise. And I'm good with that. They're very good at it. One thing that I'm wondering, I suspect the law firm,
Parker's.
they'll put some language in the document that if the waiver passes, the tax rate changes to that versus what's adopted, and we cannot adopt beyond what's approved. Any questions? No. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robert.
Item 6J, update on property and casualty insurance.
Robert, are you doing that one? Property taxes. And then you can sit down.
You can sit down wherever. I go all over.
What you've got here, let's see. If that's on line, on page 307. Laverne Insurance has been the insurance carrier for the district for a few years. The first section of that letter, you've got that in on your packet, is the workers' comp, and that looks like it'll probably drop somewhat. We haven't had as many claims, but we have less staff. The cost is calculated by risk factor. The lowest risk factor is the instructional setting, the office staff. The highest, of course, is our PD. The highest that we have in. And that's the projected, or that's the number this year. They believe it may come down based on the numbers that we drop in staff in the different categories. And you'll see the next paragraph, property casualty. Currently this year it was 464,480. It's projected it's going to drop some, which is always welcome. Same agency, but we've not had the losses we did the years before. And so they're projecting probably a lower premium. Okay. We do have an agreement with them, and a long-term agreement the district has every couple of years. They do it. And that's simply to keep the cost. They guaranteed the business, and so they offset that cost to us, to the district. On the workers' comp side, let me mention it's a pool. Normally, insurance companies, regarding workers' comp and most other insurances, they're fully insured. You pay on a monthly basis what the fee is, what you settled or you negotiated with. Many years ago, we set up a plan where they give us a projection of the cost based on the salary and per category in the employees. We pay 10% upfront. As we accumulate the revenue or the cost from each of the programs on a monthly basis from payroll, the district keeps the money, puts it in the bank, makes interest on it. If that 10% drops because of claims, we have to replenish it from the money we've already taken. And then as we settle the year, they tell us this is your actual cost. In the meantime, it may be the same number they projected at the beginning, but in the meantime, the district kept the proceeds or the revenue and made some interest on it. Okay.
Any little bit helps.
Yeah. Any questions? Any more questions on that? I think that's my last one. That's it.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Item 6K, update on TIA.
I had a fresh face.
And positive. Everybody likes TI. All right, so what I'm gonna. Good evening, everybody. It's still good evening, not good night. Good evening. So what I'm presenting today is I'm going to present just a little update on our teacher incentive allotment, the plans that we've done, everything that we've done through the summer, and kind of also what we're anticipating moving forward as well. So it is in the. I did leave it on your little area, so that way you can have one. So when we start talking about TIA. We start talking about what exactly TIA is. TIA was built so that way we could reward the top performing teachers. Currently right now, as we sit right now in June or July, it is still just 3 recognized exemplary and master. Starting in September, we'll talk about what that's going to look like. So what this update is going to include, it's going to include the timeline, the addition of the acknowledged designation, the refresher on what our plan is. Some of you who have been here a couple of years, you know what our plan is. And then just a little bit on what
we changed for the 25-20 in the 25-26 system application. And then we do have a preliminary, very preliminary numbers of what we're recommending to the state. And we'll go through that as well. So a little bit on the timeline. So we have to remember that TIA is kind of backtracked about 2 years. So everything that we're about to pay out this year, or if we were to get awarded, was made in the 24-25 school year. So that was a couple years ago. So we're following kind of two separate timelines. We're looking at the 24-25. Back then, when Robert was in charge, or I believe it was Robert or Ms. Jones, I don't remember what year this was. April 15th, they met this and our system was approved. And then we entered our data capture year, which was last school year, the 25-26 school year. And we are entering the October 15, 2026 data validation. That's where we're at right now with that plan. And I'm putting it like that because we technically have two plans. We have this one plan that we'll go over, and then the new plan that we submitted on April 15th of this school year that we already got the letter that was accepted. And we're going to enter the data capture year for the 26-27 school year. So that's kind of why I kind of have to break it down like in two timelines, because we're kind of working two different TIA plans at the same time. Should we get approved this year with the 24-25 plan, we are anticipating in April 2027 the designations to be awarded. And for the new plan that we submitted in April, that would be an April 28 payout. So it would be next year, 2 years. So a little bit on what I'm going to add. We're going to add the acknowledged designation this year. So as you guys know, this last year, they added another designation in the when they went into legislation. So beginning with the 2027 designation award, teachers can now qualify with the designation title as acknowledged. So it used to be you had to have at least a 3.7 and 55%, 55%. Now they brought it down to 3.5. So that way on their t-tests. And that's just kind of all we have for right now. Like I said, that's not going to be awarded or given a little bit more information until we get a little bit closer to September. So this is the refresher. So this is our plan that was submitted back in April of 2025, right? So this is the original plan. This is what all of our data for this last year is going to be compared to. So we have 4 categories. We have pre-K, K-3 reading, and that is an iStation. So that is all based off of iStation. Same thing with pre-K 3rd grade math. That is also iStation or Amira. I still call it iStation, but it's Amira now. And it's all based off Amira, and it's just based off of their overall performance on how they performed from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And we ran, and it's just their ISIP score. And Amira gives us like, just going to say random number. Pre-K in August scored a 10. That puts him in level 2. He scored an 11 in June. Well, he's still level 2. So there was no growth. So we're looking at the growth throughout the year. That's the first 2 categories. So the second categories are on the next page. And these are our STAR categories. So these are all based off of STAR, our STAR test. So we have 4th grade English, 4th grade through English 1 and English 2, and 4th grade math through Algebra 1. Those are our continuous. And we use the transition tables, which we'll get to in just a minute, which are these right here. And this is what we use to calculate the growth outcome for the teachers. And then we have 5th grade science, 8th grade science, biology, 8th grade social studies, and 11th grade social studies. Since those are not continuously, they test them every year. These are done through a BOY and an end of year throughout the year. So the end of year, of course, is the STAR. The BOY is usually the release test from the year before. And then we compare growth doing some calculations that we do here. So again, this is what the data that we collected this last year is going to be compared to. So in order for a teacher to qualify in October, they have to have met this criteria for this plan. Moving forward for the 26-27 school year, this is the new plan. So really what we did is we just eliminated the iStation. When we were going through the processes we had Region 18 kind of help us out this last year. As you guys know, our data validation hasn't passed these last couple of years. We found the root cause was really that iStation score. We really couldn't pinpoint it exactly like the way that we could STAR. So what we did and by we, I mean the committee, we did meet as a committee, a teacher committee where we had representation from every single campus. We had administrators from every single campus. And I sat just as a voice. I didn't have a vote in anything. And they came up with this plan. And that plan just eliminated iStation and put fourth grade reading and math through Algebra 1 and English 2 as category 1, category 1. And then category 2, what they did is for the other stars, they added third grade math and third grade reading. So now all of our star tested areas are going to be via the plan, are now going to be on the application based off of star. So really what we did is we kind of followed some models that we saw some around the district, and we said, let's just focus on star. Star is the one that everybody's kind of using, and that's where we went for right now. Because that's all of the material that we had at this time. I know there was some conversations about adding MAP or IXL or whatever other types of growth measures there are out there. But at that time, we didn't have them. We didn't purchase them, so we can't rely on them. Especially if we were let's do MAP, and we wanted to add MAP into the TIA plan, well, we were going to be stuck with MAP, regardless of if we had it or not. That was going to be the only way. So we kind of said, hey, let's go with STAR. We know we had STAR, so we were going to do that. So that's going to be everything for this coming year. Our data capture year for the 26-27 school year is going to be based off of this plan. So we do have an anticipated designation list. Again, this is very, very preliminary. I've kind of crunched the numbers all of June. I've been meeting with Region 20, and we're scheduled to come have an on-site visit with them so we can go through all of the designations, because this part right here is where we have failed consistently. So this is what we're trying to do when it gets to this part. So currently we have 54 teachers that are eligible to qualify on the teacher incentive allotment plan. Of those 54, we currently have 11 teachers who have met the criteria and could be recommended for designation in October of 2026. So we do have 11 teachers that we see could possibly, again, but we still have to go through through the data validation. We have to make sure that we checked all of the check boxes, all of the data parts of it to make sure that that's what it is. But I wanted to give you this number. And you can see the breakdown by campus. So you can see, where the designations lie when it comes to the campuses. Because if you go to the next slide one, this is kind of big because this is cost, right? So it's like the big thing is how are we going to pay for this, right? So we don't set the allotment amount that comes straight from TEA. It's based off of our EcoDis percentages. And as you can see on the side of the page, right now we just have recognized, exemplary, and master, because like I said, acknowledged doesn't technically exist just yet. And we can see what those amounts would be. So I provided you with this table because some of this we would have to pay before. So like if you look at the cost of the enrollment, the $500, we have to pay that typically by the first week of December. So by the first week of December, in order to just get our application processed, we have to pay that amount of money, and it's equals to about $5,500, $5,500, and that's just for us to get that process enrolled, and that's for every teacher that we're going to designate. So we have 11 times 500, 5,500, and that's what we have to pay. Like I said, in December, and all transparency, we were supposed to pay it last year. Whether or not it got paid last year, I can't speak to that. We do have that as well. So we do have to pay that up front. We do have the rest, I'm going to say just ballpark at 145,000. Should we these teachers get awarded, we do have to pay it out for year one out of our budget. We will get reimbursed in September. So, right, we'll pay it off in August. We'll get reimbursed in September. And that's going to be, you'll see your line 33 on your summary of finance. That's where that comes in. But just kind of, we have to keep that in mind as we're, going through the budget process and kind of keeping that in mind. Because our goal right now, I mean, I'm not going to say no. I'm just not going to say it. It's looking good. It's looking good. So hopefully we can, get some teachers designated. Our teachers work hard. They deserve it. So, if we can put a smile on some teachers' faces, I think that, it's worth it for them. All right. If there's, just next steps, again, like I said, is I'll be working with Region 20 to submit the data validation. We'll pay TIA the fee in order to get it processed. We have to wait until February to see, I believe they have it February 3rd. February 3rd is the day that we'll find out whether or not we met data validation. And then, of course, we start working on the 26-27 plan, which will go into effect next school year. And those are a little update on teacher incentive allotment. Does anybody have any questions?
I saw that there's no teachers eligible at the junior high.
Yes.
What led to that? Is it strictly STAR scores or?
No. It's a mixture of STAR scores and their T-tests as well.
T-tests in terms of they didn't meet the
minimum requirement.
Did all teachers eligible have the minimum amount of walkthroughs?
Yes.
They did.
Between the two administrators that went in by the end of the school year, each teacher had, the ones that are eligible had the 5 walkthroughs.
And were they done all at one time or done throughout the year?
By the looks of the data, they were done towards the end of the school year, the majority of them.
I guess in terms of the plan, I mean, it's a large percentage based, put on the STAR testing and things like that. How hard is it to edit those, or what is the process of?
So when it comes to editing, we're able to edit it every year. So in Jan, it actually opens up in November. So we can start the actual planning process and we can add, remove, do what we need to do. But it just comes ultimately from the committee. It's the committee's decision where they feel, like I said, this last year this was our 3rd year of data validation where we couldn't get it. So we said, hey, like I said, during that time that I was running, if it was just our STAR, they would have probably been validated. So that's kind of where we went through and we're like, hey, this is, just recommendations from what we see. This is what we recommend. Of course, it is your decision, and that's how the committee voted. But I mean, there were like I said, we have had the talks of including other growth measures, MAP, IXL, things like that. But when it came to those, we've never used MAP in this district. We've never used any of those others, and we didn't want to commit to something that we've never done and kind of just been like, okay, and by the way, we're going to start this brand new thing on top of everything new that we're starting. And by the way, this is for TI, kind of. So that's kind of like the rationale that they had.
You mentioned that a lot of the walkthroughs at the junior high were done towards the end of the year. What day are they required to be done in order to submit for TIA?
As long as they're done by the end of the school year. For TIA purposes, as long as they're done by the end of the school year. The T-test calendar that you guys approved, that's technically their end date. But if for TIA purposes, it's actually they have until the last day of school to get the criteria.
And their scores were good. The junior high.
I mean, I think so. I would like to give as much opportunity to every teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard of other districts where PE teachers are getting TIA, right? Just depends on how they measure growth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so PE, like they do the PACER, they do other ways, and then for like art, they do portfolios.
We are strictly, hanging our hopes on STAR without, giving possible portfolios.
Mm-hmm.
I think the teachers can manage those. We're leaving a lot of left to, not taking enough control of what we can provide or what the district can do to the plan itself, right? As much control as we can, right, to get these teachers, distinguished and and paid at the end of the day, right?
And I know one of the main reasons for that was when it comes to the plan, we can only change so much before we have to kind of redo it again. And so by the way that we did it, we just eliminated something. We were able to kind of keep the timeline. But like the more we do, there's more of a delay for that payment. And the way that the committee saw it is they really wanted to, like, especially when we were meeting with this committee, it was right when all of the finances was kind of coming to air, and the committee was like, we just need something positive for the teachers, and so like let's get a teacher designated, and then we can work on. Hopefully, this next coming year we'll start adding opening it up to all of the others.
How are you monitored? How are y'all monitored
To like the data like throughout the year?
Yeah, throughout the year.
So normally what we do for this last year, what I did is I ran the boy, and then we ran it in the middle of the year, and we kind of did comparison groups, and I ran it the exact same way that everything kind of flows for the final.
Okay.
And in all honesty, the biggest issue is actually not really the data; it's the t-test. The t-test is really what's holding us back. And every time that I've met with Region 18, which is the data hub, and even our region, the biggest issue is the t-test. The t-test and the growth, they don't match. So we're saying we're giving our teachers 5s, but their growth is 50s.
Okay.
Right. And so those aren't matching. And that's the reason we haven't been able to get validated this last couple of years. So this year I did see it. It did go down, but they're still, right away. I already met with them once earlier this week, and they were like, they're still askew. And I'm like, yes, I know they're still askew. We're working on it. And so we do have some trainings to hopefully visualize that. And then also trainings with the teachers. So they also recognize, hey, I can't be a master teacher, a T-test level distinguished teacher, and have my students' growth be in the 50s, because that doesn't match, right?
Exactly.
And then so that's also, so they're going to have those conversations. Region 20 wants to come in and have those conversations with the teachers, because they also need to be aware at the same time.
That's what I was alluding to when I was asking the questions earlier. You just said it right now. They were getting 5, but there was a different training here.
Now, in terms of who does the T-test, is it say for elementary, is it the elementary principal that goes and does the T-test for elementary?
It's whoever's they designate for. So, for example, Matthew could have Miss Houston, and Sarah could have Miss Gomez, and it's just dependent on who's.
So, what's been the norm now? I mean, when you see a skew, you can kind of say, well, the elementary principal wants my teachers to do great, so I'm going to give them. You hope it's not that way. I'm going to give them 5s, 4s, 3s, but it doesn't match the star. In terms of getting an independent, kind of independent reviewer to go and do the T-test for that grade group. I mean, I don't know how all that is
Yeah, so that's what the region's going to try to come in and do. So they're going to actually come in, and they're hopefully to come in at the same time with the lift, because they don't want to be, keep coming into classes, and they just want to see. They come into Matthew's classroom, and Mr. Grill rates Matthew as a 3, but Mr. Espinosa rates him as a 5. Well, what's the difference, and why is that? So let's actually look at the rubric, and let's actually talk about what does it mean to be each of the different proficiencies. So that's what they're going to be working on, hopefully, when they come in.
So there's no inter-rater reliability testing?
No, not necessarily. Not here. Not with the T-test. I mean, yeah, the way that calibration. Is that what your calibration? Yes. Yeah, that's kind of what they're going to be doing. They're going to be calibrating with each other. They're going to calibrate with high schools and elementaries together, so that way they can calibrate together.
Can I say a comment?
That's not. That's like out of the. I was there.
I think, Mr. Martinez, this is what I was talking about, of focusing on the adults and not the students. If we focus on Tier 1 instruction, the students are going to grow, and that's our main goal. Teachers are going to benefit from that growth. But I would prefer to let's focus on Tier 1 instruction. like the LIFT grant is going to do. It's going to walk with the principals to calibrate those walkthroughs so that we know Tier 1 instruction is solid. Therefore, the students should grow. Therefore, the teachers should get their TIA. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Matthew, I really had never paid much attention to what, I've paid attention, but I've never really followed you that much. I appreciate very much what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
You have a lot going on, and it's very recognizable and very good.
Thank you. Do it all for the kids. That's why we're here. We're here for the kids, and anything that we can do to make Crystal City the best, that's what we're here for. Anything on this one? Okay, that one kind of hurts saying. I'm just kidding. I'm the next one, so that's why it's like, I'm also. Yeah.
Go ahead and announce that.
Can we see the next slide?
Item 6L. Oh.
Let me see.
So we're moving on to item 6L, right? Star and EOC results.
Yeah.
Bro?
Yeah.
Matthew, we're gonna go through these, or is this one?
It's that one together. Yeah, it's kind of goes together with this one. So they kind of go hand in hand. We're going to talk a little bit about them. We're not going to go super in depth because like Mr. Hines said earlier, this is all accountability. So it is going to go to more of that August 3rd when we start talking about accountability. We start looking at that. So we're just going to touch on these and kind of give you an overview. So that way we have a better understanding. So.
I got it, but okay. Let me get it pulled up.
So while he's doing that, what we're going to look at, we're going to be looking at the growth. So I know Mr. Bonilla, unfortunately, he's not here today, but we typically, this is what he's always asking, like how we follow a cohort from like third grade to fourth grade to fifth grade. So this is what we're going to be looking at in this report. Okay. Maybe. There it is. There it is. That's the slide. Okay. So before we get started, we kind of wanted to talk about exactly what it meant to be approaches, meets, and mastery, right? Because we're typically, and just in the mindset, just in general, and I'm not talking about the people in this room, but just in generally in Texas, we see approaches kids pass the test, right? That's what we see, and that's the number that we're like looking at, right? However, unfortunately, those students are not on grade level. When it comes to approaches is performance in a category that indicates that students are likely to succeed in the next grade level with course and targeted academic intervention. So if a student is at approaches, they are approaching the grade level, meaning they did not master the current grade, the material that they are in their current grade level, and they'll be successful, but we have to strategically and targetedly intervene with those students. And that's through intervention processes and things like that. The majority of our students, where we want them to be, which is why actually your board goals are at this, is at meets. Performance in the category indicates that students have a high likelihood of success in the next grade level or course, but may still need some short-term target intervention. And did you hear that last part? In meets, they're on grade level, but they still need intervention because they are not fully ready for the next grade level. So that's one thing that we have to make sure that we are aware, especially because when it comes to domain 3, closing the gaps domain for accountability, the federal domain, they only count at meets. So let's say our biology students, hey, we hit a 98%, great. But that was at approaches. Mm-hmm. At meets, we were only at 60%, right? So that is where we need to focus in moving those kids from approaches to meets. And then, of course, masters is performance in this category indicates students are expected to succeed in the next grade level with little or no academic intervention. And this is what we kind of call college and career ready, right? So our goal is to get as many of our kids that we can to the meets level, because if they are not at meets, one, they're not on grade level. And then two, when it comes to closing the gaps, we're not getting any points for them at all. And before we move on to the next slide, I do want to recognize that Lead Forward is being really generous with us, and they're giving us a free Accountability Connect account for not for myself, Mr. Hines, and all of the campus principals. They're out there, and they gave us at absolutely free, and that's how we were able to kind of run all of our accountability this year. So when it comes to school progress, which is domain 2, we have academic growth. We have annual growth, which is the percentage of students who grew at least 1 year academically as measured by their STAR results. So we're looking at students, an example in 3rd grade to how they performed in 4th grade. And did they actually master or learn a full year and grow a full year? And then we also have a little bit of an extra in the House Bill 1416, which is the accelerated instruction. And that is a percentage of students who did not meet grade level in the prior year, but got minimally approaches this current year. So we're going to look at what exactly that looks like. So I know this slide, it's not the easiest to read on print, but I did give it to you here. And this first one, English 2, is that one right here. So that way you can kind of see what it looks like, especially because I think we printed vertically, you can't really see it, but it is this right here. So what this growth template tells us is it's a matrix based on how students performed on a 2026 STAR exam compared to how they performed on the 2025 STAR assessment. In the same subject, just a lower grade level. So we're going to be so this is only ever going to be reading and math, because those are the only 2 tests that they continuously test every year. Okay? Let's go to the next slide, please. Gracias. So you can see I kind of color-coded some parts. We're going to be looking at just different pieces, because like I said, I'm not really going to go into depth, but you are able to kind of look on your own to see what this kind of looks like. And if you have questions, of course, we're here to help you. So we have letter A, which is at the top, and that tells us what exams are being compared. So in this case, you can see it's English 2 to English 1. So we're comparing English 2 to English 1. B is the annual growth for students and the 2025 STAR test. So you can actually see 30 students were at low did not meet last year. High did not meet, there was 21. 19, there was low approaches, and so on and so forth. On the top column, or on the top row, sorry, that is a 2026 STAR. So that's how they compare to this year. So you can see there was 20, 31, 8, 17, and so on and so forth. Then on the side, that's the data summary. And we're going to go a little bit into depth on each of those really quickly on these next coming slides. So the first thing that we want to bring to your point are the red, right? Because you can see that this is color-coded. So students in red did not meet 1 year's growth based on their performance on the 2026 STAR. So in this case, 41 out of 138 students did not grow at least 1 year minimally from last year to this year. So they sat in English 2 all year long, and based off of their scores from last year to this year, they did not grow academically 1 school year. And that's 41 of our students. So those 41 students, hey, those are usually, even if, you talk to somebody, 41 students, those are probably the ones that failed, right? Not necessarily. As Mr. Hines said earlier, we're not tracking the students who are doing well as well either. Because if you look at that bottom row, the green one, the masters, so in 2025, we had 12 students who mastered the exam in English 1. You run your finger across, and you can see that of those 12, 9 of them fell back to meets. So they weren't masters last year. They were college and career ready now last year. This year, they're just meeting the current curriculum. And of those 12, 3 were still at masters. So this is what Mr. Hines was saying, that, this is what we have to pay attention to those students who, are doing well. They're passing the exams, but are we targeting them as well with their needs as well? And you can see that as we move up as well. You can see in meets, there was 49. 41 of them stayed at meets. So they didn't get to masters, but they stayed at meets. 6 of them fell to high approaches. 1 went to low approaches. And of the 49 students who passed English 1, they got to English 2 and they did not pass the test. And they were at meets on English 1. So who was that student? And that's the good thing about this report. It actually tells us who that student is. And you can follow that trend all the way up. And then, of course, if you look at the very top corner, you can see that there are 30 students who did not meet in 2025. And of those 30 students, 16 students stayed in the exact same thing, meaning they were in the low did not meet. So, those typical students are sped students, are EB students. Those are the students that we need to be focusing on, because not only do they play a role here, but when it comes to closing the gaps, they're going to play a role there as well. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the next slide, we're going to look at the color blue. So if you look at the color blue, we have 13, 5, and 2. So it's a total of 20 students. These 20 students, we got some credit. They stayed where they were supposed to be, but they still did not meet a full year's growth. So that's already 61 students who did not meet a full year's academic growth by the end of their year. So again, they sat in the class all year long, and they still did not meet the full growth of where they needed to be. Bless you. So these students, if just the way that you read it, it's high did not meet, they stayed in high did not meet. They were in low approaches, they stayed in low approaches. High approaches, they stayed in high approaches. So they didn't change. Their performance level stayed the same, and nothing was changed. So again, 20 out of 138 students stayed in the same performance level, and they did not make a full year's growth. Okay, next slide. So the next one we're going to look at is the green. Green is good. Green means we get a full point out of these students. So all of these students did show minimally at least 1 year's growth. So you can see that we have 77 students here. So 77 out of 138 students showed at least a full year's growth. And that's kind of what we wanted to point out, that, we still need to track all of those students to make sure that they are growing and they are on target. Okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't see a change. This next part is the 14-16 performance. So what we're looking at here in the House Bill 1416, this are the set of kids who were unsuccessful last year and also should have received, whether through their master schedule or through after-school tutorials, should have received 15 hours of their subject that they are required to, whether they failed. So for example, if they failed math and reading, they owe 30 hours. If they failed math or reading, then they owe 15 hours. So these are the students who should have received some sort of intervention throughout the school year in order to push them to at minimally approaches. So you can see that there was 51 students. There's 51 students on this template here who were unsuccessful the year before. Of those 51, 45 were still unsuccessful on their English 2. And remember, English 2 is an EOC, meaning it's a requirement for graduation. So there's 45 students who failed previously, should have had 30 hours of intervention or 15 hours of intervention, and they were still unsuccessful. So that kind of puts us in the question, well, what happened during those intervention hours? Did our RTI classes have the impact that they were supposed to have? Did the after-school tutorials or the Saturday school, did that have the impact? So those are questions that we need to, start questioning, because these are the students who should have been coming to tutorials. And you can see of the 51, 6 of them did pass. Okay. And so how do you read the ultimate score at the end? So if you look at that ultimate score at the end, annual growth is essentially the percentage of students who made 1 year's growth for 1 year of instruction. So if you look at that total annual growth earned, 87, those are the points from that very top table, the green table. And you get points based off of that. And then for the 14-16, which is the orange, you can see that we got 6 points there, but on those, we only get a quarter of every point. So we only get 25%. So that's why it's a 1.5. Then you just add those numbers together, divide them by the total test, and that is how we get that score for that specific subject. And you can do the same process for every single tests that we administered. Do you want to go to the next slide one? So this is the breakdown of what it looked like by each of the different tests that are measured through growth. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we are going to have that August 3rd board meeting where we're, our board training, where we're going to go over accountability. And this is where we're going to really look at these individually. But that's kind of just quick little growth in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
Yes.
That lead forward gave y'all free accounts. Is that forever or?
That's a question for Mr. Hines. I don't know.
Because this, what you're presenting aligns with what Ms. McAnally was starting out to with the LSG, right?
Mm-hmm.
Measure, map, consistently presenting the measures and everything and at the board meetings, right? And this is exactly what they were looking at, right? To present something that we can easily follow. And yes, it's a little bit, but it's the first time we see it, right? It's a little jumbled together. Maybe we don't completely understand it all right now, but the more and more that we see it, we'll be able to quickly digest it, where our growth is going and where it's not going, right? So if we're going to stick with Lead Forward and we're going to make an investment into Lead Forward, then we need to make sure that we plan that into the budget if this is what we're going to follow with, right? All of that is telling, right? I mean, I don't think it's been presented this way to us.
And we have been actually using this since, I was still a teacher 5 years ago when we started using this table, when they really started coming out with a STAR 2.0. So we have been using this, but this is the first time that we've actually presented it to the board. It's always, every time that we present it to the board, it was always just overall performance. And I believe we kind of want to move into that growth mindset. Because growth is really where we're going to get a lot of our points when it comes to accountability. It's going to be really what we're looking for.
So I have a question. You mentioned earlier students who did not grow, and then we still have students that kind of stayed behind. So how are we, or how is the district going to change that? Because if we already have a student that was at approaches but doesn't really make any progress, in other words, he's staying further behind. If there wasn't really any growth, so that means that they're still lagging. And how do we change that? What plans do you have to?
Yeah, and I think it all starts off with the alignment of the curriculum, because like I said, when Mr. Hines was speaking, they were learning 2+2, and you take picture models in 3rd grade with one teacher, but then they were doing linear models with another teacher, so they weren't getting that same, and they were jumping to the next grade level without full mastery. So I think by us aligning the curriculum is kind of where we have to start. So now that, we're aligned K-12 in both reading and math, I think that's where we're going to be able to start being able to help the students. And then I know I haven't really seen their master schedules fully. I've only seen the high school ones because I kind of, that's my campus, so I get to see that one. But I know that we're incorporating more, those intervention classes, so that way they're able to instruct and get to those students that need the extra help.
This is just my speculation, and I don't know if it's true. Are we teaching towards the test? Has that been the norm?
If they're using the high quality curriculum instruction that they were given, it's not, because I used it, and just from experience, it doesn't teach to the test. Whether or not, like I said, when Mr. Hines was saying that, some teachers are doing this, some teachers are doing that, whether that's teaching to the test, I can't speak to that. But from what we've given the teachers, the materials doesn't necessarily teach to the tests. It's usually a way around.
Because my thinking has always been, if you set the bar high, I think students will be able to.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because just an example in my classroom, I set approaches is not a non-negotiable. You're supposed to be at approaches when you come into my classroom. So every time that we went, it was at meets. And sure enough, by the end, we were able to get to 60% meets, and that's the highest that in the district. The kids rose to the level that they needed to. So, by giving them that standard, the students will rise. And that's something, our students are resilient, they're competitive, and if you give them a challenge, they're going to get to it.
And thank you for the information, because a lot of people do not realize, the approaches, the meets, and the masteries. A lot of people get it mixed up and twisted. So I get a lot of questions. Oh, well, but we got approaches. Whoa, whoa, whoa! That doesn't mean that you have to explain to.
We talked about how many students passed, which is approaches.
So they get it mixed up. So I mean, I think that was needed a long time ago. To be quite honest, those definitions that been here my 6th year and never been mentioned.
They've been here forever, the meds, the approaches, and so I have my kids in school. I monitor them very closely. It's the approaches, the meets, and I think the principals, when they have been presenting, they'll say how many kids got to the approaches meet. So it's been there for some time. I mean, now.
I think it's just the mindset of putting the teachers into that mindset that we're improving, we're getting better, we're doing, we're improving every year, but it's moving that mindset from approaches is passing to making means the standard. And that's that mindset that where we need to start.
Now, in terms of that after-school instruction and funding and things, does the district apply for ACE grants, for the Texas ACE grants and things like that?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
I mean, because those are after-school, those are grants geared just for after-school instruction, different things like that. And I was looking at them, and districts around that have been awarded $250,000, $500,000, and I know at one time the district was paying $50 to $75 an hour to the teacher for coming in on Saturday or, working, doing a after-school tutorial. They were paying the teachers that, and, I think that's where that money can come from if we apply for those grants.
It's definitely something that we can look into to see if maybe something that we can bring. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We sure do, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6M, TASB policy update.
Sure. So this will be the first reading of your policy update. So as we are midway through the 26, calendar year, you have to remember that policies are updated after legislative session, so after the 2025 session. So when you have policy updates this late after a legislative session, they're usually more administrative changes, buts, ands, howevers, words like that. So if you'll look in your board packet, we'll start on page 332. And it's really pretty self-explanatory. And remember, this is a first reading, not an action item till next month. So what I suggest to boards in my past, and I'll suggest to you, is read over these policies, and then if you have questions, you can answer them more thoroughly now that you have them in this board packet. So what starts on page 332 is called the policy comparison documents. And I like these documents because in your board packet, you'll see what's changed. And what's changed is in red, strikeouts, language that's being removed, and then blue text is new language. And so you'll see more red strikeouts than you will see new language in these. So going through the policy update, under superintendent non-renewal, there's some real basic language about you can release a superintendent with or without accommodations due to disabilities, which is kind of strange. It also talks about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is, kind of a buzzword these days in politics. When you look at policy DP local, then the entire policy is being omitted. This is on principal qualifications and school counselors. Oddly, there's no new language in that. And then under policy EHBB local, gifted and talented, there's some new specific language about matrix or threshold system used to scoring values for students qualifying, being identified for gifted and talented. And then in policy FFF, local under student safety and welfare, there's just some enhanced language about inappropriate relationship and misconduct with educators and students. I think it's a surprise that, things happen. Unfortunately, things happen. New legislation tends to happen. Now, on page 325 are all your legal policy updates. And what this is called is the explanatory notes. And again, I'm not going to read all this to you. It just basically gives you one sentence snippet to those legal policies and then to some of the local policies as well. I'm going to leave it at that. Been going for 3.5 hours. I want to keep y'all another 3.5 hours just on the policy update.
All right. Give us, they'll give us, be that.
Be good midnight. Side reading, yes.
7A, discussion and action on elementary campus consolidations and possible campus name change per policy CW local.
Okay, so I have an email from TEA that I'm waiting to answer tomorrow based on this conversation. So we have 3 elementary schools that have campus names. And what we're proposing is those names don't go away. They're on the buildings. They have some probably historical significance or importance to the community. And so think of these like at a college campus where you have a college, but you have different names on the building. We're proposing that the campus be named Crystal City Elementary School. Now, Victor, I don't know if he was joking. He's not here to represent.
He told me to remind you about Javelina.
Yeah, so he mentioned Javelina Elementary School. We just need a name because TEA is requiring us to do this, and they're actually wanting it done like yesterday. So I need to get this done. So the board's preference.
Have you had conversations with the elementary teachers, the principals over there?
John, are you still on board with us?
He's there.
Of course I am, Mr. Grill. Can't believe you doubted me.
Okay, well, have y'all had any conversations with Miss Mata and her staff about the name of the elementary?
I did, and the name that she started with was Crystal City Elementary. I told her to hold off until the board voted on something. She was fine with that name. Whether that's the one that she wants to run with, I do not know that answer.
I know that's the name or the name of the school that's bounced around with Miss Mata and myself as well.
Now, in terms of, physical changes to the buildings or anything like that, are they going to require that? I've seen sometimes where in order to change the name, you have to change certain things to a building, or I don't know if TA is going to do.
No, the only thing that changes is what's called a CDN. It is the county district number. And it'll be assigned a new county district number, which is basically how TEA tracks the accountability ratings, how the school safety center tracks the school safety requirements. There's requirements as far as, police officers on campus. So having one name allows us to take 3 officers and turn it into 1 officer, which is one of our cost-saving measures in consolidating administration, counselors, food service staff, everything else. So it's really y'all's decision, not ours administratively. We can be suggestive, but.
And you mentioned accountability. Since we're consolidating the Benito Juarez, the F rating would follow, right?
The ratings would be all on one campus, yes. So Benito Juarez and Zavala's accountability ratings
Be together.
would be together. And that's why TEA needs to know, because they have to get, I think by August 8th, they have to release, accountability ratings. So we're going to have this. They might, I don't know, Dr. Reyna, maybe the consolidation wouldn't affect the ratings until next cycle. So really the accountability ratings that are going to come out next month would still go to those two campuses as they were in past tense.
So right now, whatever they get the rating, Zavala, TR, because we're together, I mean, it won't necessarily be, Benito Juarez, probably until next year, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, so it would be a year from now if we were to name it Crystal City Elementary School, then Crystal City Elementary School would have a rating next August of 27. Okay, the two elementary schools would still get their ratings this year.
For this year. Yes.
Motion to approve the elementary campus consolidation and possible campus name change per policy CW local.
Do we have to state a name?
Do we
For
need
the-
to,
I would think so, because we're naming it.
Okay.
I mean, Dr. Rena, do you have an opinion? I would think they had to name
No, I
it.
think, we have to set the name.
That's the whole first purpose.
That's a whole reason of the motion.
Okay. So,
Not to be
would you
a
like to
smart
amend your
aleck.
motion?
what was it?
Crystal City
I thought we're
Elementary.
just consolidating and naming it later.
No.
But we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Can you restate your motion, Mr. Mota?
I would like to amend my motion. Motion to approve the elementary campus consolidation and naming it Crystal City Elementary School as per policy CW.
Have to be more in detail. In terms of consolidating Benito Juarez Elementary, Tomas Rivera Elementary, and Lorenzo Zavala Elementary into Crystal City.
I think to Mr. Grill's point, it's naming the entire elementary education sector, the Crystal City Elementary School. Now, you're not changing the names of the buildings, so I would think that in the future, they would refer to it as the Tomas Rivera building, the Zavala
correct.
building, the Benito Juarez building, but the school, as so that we can have a number, a code, a name, is the Crystal City Elementary.
Okay.
I don't think that anything else is beyond what is to recommend.
Okay. Would you like to restate the motion for the record? No, so we can, because it was a little bit it wasn't clear, in some sense. I had a question to it or something, so you can just restate the motion, please.
My motion was to approve the elementary campus consolidation and naming it Crystal City Elementary School or campus per policy CW local.
Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Espinosa. Motion made by Mr. Mata. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor? All opposed?
Abstain.
Motion passes.
I want it, Paulina, like me.
Motion passes 401. Item 7B, discussion action on temporary suspension of policy CDC donations.
Okay, so on policy CDC local, superintendent has the authority to accept unsolicited gifts. So if somebody donates $1,000 to the district, I can accept it. But if there's stipulations to that money, want it spent on X or Y or Z, then the board has that authority. And what I'm recommending, because of the tennis courts, and I would think you have a trusting relationship with your superintendent that reports to you donations anyhow, give the superintendent authority. But for now, I'm asking you to temporarily suspend the policy.
In other words, I mean, it doesn't have to come to the board for approval.
Correct. So, and I'll give you a real life example. It was my first week on the job, and special ed had Special Olympics to go to, and I shut money off. And so a parent or somebody donated the money for special ed to go to, the kids to go to Special Olympics. And I said, sure. I took the money and deposited and then let Nora and her folks go. So in a normal sense, I would have had to wait till a board meeting to accept that money for her to take the special ed kids to the Special Olympics. And I just really think that there's times, especially when it's, you know,
when they want to go, I mean, and they're.
And I've recommended to sponsors and coaches to have fundraisers because we're cutting the budget. And so I just see this happening a lot. And instead of changing the policy, go ahead and suspend it. And then until such time as you want to change it or you want to take that authority back as a board. And as long as your superintendent's maintaining good communications with you guys, like I do on Fridays on my Friday weekly updates, then, you know, you have that information. I can't imagine us wanting to turn.
So your recommendation is what? To suspend?
Suspend policy CDC local.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion. That we suspend the policy, but that in a regular meeting, he informs us who give the policy. A lot of times, I mean, you want to thank you somebody. I mean, hey, thank you for helping the school district. Temporary suspend it. That's supposed to.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Espinosa, second by Mr. Mata. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 7C, discussion action on the temporary suspension of policy DB local residency.
All right, so in preparation for the interviews and subsequent hiring of new superintendent, policy DB local has a requirement that the superintendent establish and maintain a permanent resident. All right, so I have a residence here, but it's not my permanent residence, okay? It's just my humble opinion. You might find a good superintendent that's from a neighboring school or lives in a neighboring town, not a school district, another town, and you're going to make them sell their house and move everything here or maintain two homes. And, you know, the way it's worded, establish and maintain a permanent residence, is pretty specific to me. I'm recommending you suspend the policy until such time as you want to enforce it or change it.
A motion on the temporary suspension of policy DB local residency.
Do you have a second? Second by Mr. Espinosa, motion made by Mr. Mata. Discussion? My only question is why are you recommending to suspend it instead of change the policy?
Well, first of all, it used to cost $1,100 a page for TASB to change a policy. So we're financially hurting right now. So two, you don't know what you're going to hire until you hire. And there might be a reason that you want to enforce this in the near future, but I'm suggesting you suspend it until you make the hire and then change the policy if that's what you want to change. But just to change it for this hiring cycle, TASB doesn't do that for free. And if it's a multi-page document, it used to be, I don't know, it probably is more now. It used to be $1,100 per page of the policy. If it's a 10-page document, you're paying a lot of money just to change one sentence. Luckily, this is just a single-page document or policy.
All righty. Any other questions? All in favor? All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0. Item 7D, discussion and action in Southwest Texas College MOU for adult course offering.
Okay, so this has been a long time coming. The dean has come to see me twice. The president's come to see me. This is MOU for a night class for adult ed at the high school in construction science. Anyhow, in the policy, they have put in there that, or in the MOU, I should say, they put in there that Southwest Texas will be responsible for any damages to the facilities. And we won't be getting paid as we used to get paid for these adult community ed classes. But in exchange, we're getting all the dual credit for free, and also they wiped off, I forget how much, it was quite a bit.
$140,000.
$140,000 of debt.
On the, do you have it in writing?
Yes, right here. And it's in your
The other
board.
one was to come later on say no.
No, I have everything in writing, and it's in your board packet. But I appreciate Dr. Gonzalez wiping off $140,000 we owed them.
Oh, yeah.
This is just for adults, right?
Adult.
Now, in terms of if anybody at the district decides to enroll in these courses, is there any discount or, is that a possibility? I mean, in terms of construction management and things like that, if somebody at maintenance wants to
they're
to
adult.
enroll in these courses, but they would have to pay. Being enrolled by the district, being an employee of the district, if that can, assist in a discount or whatever the case may be, I don't know.
I mean, I'll make a strong assumption here. If they're an adult, they're an adult. It doesn't matter if they're an employee of the district or not. If they're a community member and they're an adult, which means they're just not in high school.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And I totally misunderstood your question. If they could get a discount.
Yeah. Or anything. I mean, sometimes when you enter into MOUs, you kind of can request some
I can
certain things.
certainly ask Dr. Gonzalez.
It was just a thought. I mean, something that you can help any of our employees. I mean,
I'll represent the question.
In the future, if we ever decide to go to, to have any school construction or anything additional, having somebody at the district that's educated in that will help tremendously. Maybe just something, it was just a question.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Can't even vote them. Right?
I can't.
Okay.
You're the vice president. I make a motion, but do you know, if this is gonna be just for the coming year, or it's gonna be what do we have to pay?
You're just approving an MOU for this one class. There's no other extenuating.
As far as our students in high school that are taking these classes, because you told us that you had met with somebody from TA or something
from Sol Ross,
and that they said, not supposed to be paying, they're economic disadvantage or.
Oh, yeah, that was the commissioner actually said that. You're right.
And
he asked me, well, he didn't ask me, he asked the audience, and I raised my hand, if anybody was still paying for dual credit classes, and I raised my hand and he asked where. And that's what kind of led to Dr. Gonzalez coming back and meeting with me and saying, hey, we're going to wipe out the debt and we're not going to make you pay for any dual credit. You signed the MOU for us.
Yeah.
And
But I think he told us that he was concerned about really just bring it up with him. So
I've had that conversation with the president of the university or the college.
Motion's made by Mr. Espinosa. Do you have a second? Second by Gabriel Espinosa. All in favor? All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-1. Move on to item 7G, discussion and action to approve board goals. Goodness.
I think we clarified that and that, there are more recent board goals.
Yes.
Those recent board goals cover, the next 2 years, and I think we're good.
And in terms of, the board goals, we did adopt new ones last year. But also, in the process that we're at with the superintendent search, it'd probably be a good first month task to be able to develop some new goals with the superintendent.
And that's why I figured we would just,
No action? Okay. No action for 7G for the record. At this time, we'll go into closed session.
May I pose a question?
Yes.
I don't have anything that necessarily needs to be in closed session unless you want to discuss.
Did we need to go over any personnel matters or anything? Anything that we need to know?
Well, the personnel matters are in your
Okay.
board packet on page 379, and none of it has to do with disciplinary matters, so it doesn't necessarily need to be in closed session. It lists new hires, both professional, paraprofessional, and then also resignations, professional and paraprofessional.
But can we ask questions without mentioning the name?
No, we cannot ask questions with not mentioning names. If you have questions about a certain individual that's listed, we're going to closed
Yeah,
session.
we gotta go in closed session.
So we can go into closed session.
I don't want to go to close session. I want to go to sleep. I mean, if it's fine with you guys, we'll.
I don't have any issues with or anything regarding any of the hires or any of the resignations. So we can skip to item 9A. Not going to go into closed session. And we'll just move into item 9A, open session. Action on the personnel matter discussed in closed session.
So I'm submitting my resignation officially effective August 14th, which I'd like to have y'all take action on tonight. So our regular board meeting would be August 10th. This would be the Friday after the board meeting on August 10th. This will allow me to wrap things up. We adopted the tax rate, the budget, made a decision on the Vader. By then, we've named the lone finalist for this new superintendent. So you'll be in your 21-day waiting period. So at most, you would go 2 weeks without a superintendent.
You sent us the memo, or you informed us about the situation at home.
Right.
But I think you mentioned that there were a couple of options. One,
So there was 2 options I presented to the board in writing. One was I would resign effective this Friday, and I had a recommendation for somebody to come in and fill my place. Dr. Seals, who's been at Tula last, and then before that was at Dilly for quite a while.
but there was,
Or the other options for me to stay on. Now, I wrote that while my wife was still in the hospital. So, I'm prepared to stay here and get you all finished through the 14th. And that way there's a clean break between.
I would prefer that you stay instead of bringing, I mean, what you mentioned there about maybe 3 days and the rest would it, because right now, you're guiding us, into the superintendent, we get the guy that could be interim, but it's like starting again. I prefer that he guide us. You can come. You have an emergency, go there.
That's what I'm willing to do.
I would go that route.
And then I think that's what Mr. Grill is willing to do. The resignation is effective August 14th. Given the timeline for the superintendent search and his involvement in the superintendent search, he's probably going to be here more days than he wish he would like. We have 3 possible meetings next week for the superintendent, 3 possible meetings the following week for the superintendent. So he's going to be meeting the obligations that we had discussed previously, and then sent in the memo of a hybrid work schedule kind of, if needed.
And for the next 2 weeks, for sure, I'm going to be here all 5 days. So, I'm going to do what it takes, Ray.
Yeah, because I mean, there was another option that new a superintendent was. Yeah. I wouldn't go with that option. I would.
I don't think that's what I would suggest.
That you would help us until, I mean, you can
Until December.
No, sir, and I've had additional conversations with Mr. Grill, and I think even knowing the type of person Mr. Grill is, when we do make the hire and we do make the announcement, I think he will still be a phone call away to kind of answer any questions, So, if not, I have his number and I'll give him a phone call and see what he can do. But as far as item 9A, do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
A motion to, can be a little bit more. Well, item 9A is the action on personnel matters discussed in closed session. We didn't have a closed session, but, it's to approve the personnel information.
Accept the resignation as.
And accept the resignation of Mr. Grill accepted.
Well, technically, y'all have given me the authority on all the personnel. So
Yes.
the only thing y'all need to vote on is just the resignation. All the other, this is more of a report.
Okay. All right. So the motion is to accept Mr. Grill's resignation effective August 14th. Okay. Do we have a second? Second. Motion by Mr.
We don't want him to
Espinosa.
go, no second.
Second by Mr. Gabriel Espinosa. Any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Mata. Second? Second by Ms. Young. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Time?
Aren't you ready?
9:42. Marathon.
Recording stopped.
This one, if you'll write approved and then sign a date.
Okay.